All right, good evening. We are going to open our meeting tonight, and I'd like to ask the clerk to call attendance. Oh, sorry, call to order. We are going to open with prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, and this evening, very special lady, near and dear to the city of Nampa, former employee, and her husband worked faithfully as our former police chief in the city of Nampa, for those of you who don't know, Alan Creech. And so Pastor Laura Creech is going to open us in prayer and the pledge. I'd like to ask those who are willing and wanting to participate to stand at this time.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. So Heavenly Father, we are gathered here as your stewards. We ask for your wisdom and your guidance. Help us to listen with open hearts, speak with clarity and kindness, and make decisions that are right and just. Help us to respect each other's ideas, build on each other's strengths, and work together harmoniously. May your discussions be productive and your efforts bring good results. And may your bonds strengthen as all of you on City Council and the Mayor serve a common purpose. In Jesus' name we ask, amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate that. Thank you, Laura. All right. Now we will do roll call.
Skog.
Yes.
Chingula.
Here.
Bills.
Here.
Reynolds. Rodriguez.
Here.
Griffin.
Here.
5 present, 1 absent.
All right. And just for the record, Councilman Reynolds, who is absent, did give advance notice. So it's not like we're shocked that he's just MIA or that we don't anticipate him to join later for the meeting. So he will be absent for tonight. On proposed amendments to the agenda, I do want to note at this time that there is a public hearing item. The first one that is listed on our agenda, which is item 8.1. That item, at the request of the applicant, has been asked to be postponed or pushed to a future fixed date. So it is our intent when we get to that item to open the public hearing and then announce the date certain to continue that item. So we are not doing that at that time, but just announcing at this time under proposed amendments to the agenda that our intent when we get to 8.1 is to open the public hearing, to not act tonight on that, to respond to the request of the applicant to delay this to a future date for a continuance. So other than that, are there any proposed amendments to the agenda that I'm aware of tonight? All right, if there are none, would look for a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good with that. All right, now we go to the consent agenda, and you'll notice all the items are listed there, and I'd look for a motion as well from council to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I do want to just briefly note on the consent agenda, these items have been carefully reviewed by council, and we use the consent agenda as our friend to try to expedite a lot of the items that are before the city so that we can expedite our business meeting. But please know that there's a lot of care taken on all these items. Do want to note that Mr. Tom Turner is present. Tom, thanks. You were reappointed in the consent agenda on P&Z. Thank you for your service. I know lots of late evenings, and I know you're not doing it for the pay because there's not really pay involved. So appreciate your service, Tom. Thanks for being willing to continue to serve in that capacity. All right, moving on from consent agenda, agency and commission reports, sub-item 3, we don't have any planned on the agenda. However, do want to exercise a moment of privilege to recognize our CFO and our amazing finance team on the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association. There's one award that they've gotten every year for decades, so that standard's been maintained, which is great, but there's a second award that you got as well, so I'd like the CFO to briefly make council and the public aware of the recognitions that they received this week.
Mayor, thank you. The Budget Department and entire city received for the third year in a row the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the GFOA, the Government Finance Organization. And it, I believe, is only one of 2 cities this year in Idaho that got it. We submit a version of our budget, the completed approved council version, to the GFOA. They review it and send back a 20-page document telling us what they think about it, up and down, left and right, and offer suggestions for the future. But this was the third year in a row we've received that, so it's a compliment to the city and to the finance team for doing the budget in a way that provides clarity and meets the basic standards that allow for a little more in-depth discussion of the budgets. So I want to thank my team and then also the city departments that work with us.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug and team. The budget book for the city of Nampa is amazing. It's on the website, so if the public's watching this and wants to see what exactly this book looks like, you'll be up late reading. I was up till 3:30 last night reading, not the budget book, I was reading other stuff.
Wow.
But got up at 7, so I'm operating on 3.5 hours of sleep. The adrenaline is okay, I'm not tired yet, it's gonna hit me later. But the budget book is amazing, it's extremely detailed, and it's just not a bunch of spreadsheets and numbers, there's also narrative on what every single department, division within the city of Nampa does, goals, accomplishments. But the way that it's compiled and constructed, the GFOA has recognized the city of Nampa for putting together a good budget book. So that's published for dissemination, not just to council in the budget process, but for the public in consuming. And we have an archive there of prior years, so you can look back and see what the city of Nampa has done. I often refer to the budget book to refamiliarize myself and remind myself of what went on in the past. So that's just a helpful tool. So thank you, Doug and team. You're to be commended for your work. Thank you. All right, for staff communications, which is item 4.1, Rodney Ashby, you are up, and thanks for what you do, Rodney, and look forward to hearing from you tonight.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a report on Planning and Zoning Commission's decisions on January 13th. So we had quite a few consent agenda items, so I'll go through those kind of quickly. Let me know if you have any questions about it. A final plat approval for Ridgeview North, number 1. Subdivision final plat approval for Swainson's Hawk Arbor, number 1. Final plat approval for Grand Central. And then extensions for a CUP for Unlimited Solutions Yard and Nursery. This is off of Greenhurst and Happy Valley Road. For a contractor's landscape office with outdoor storage of planting materials. Then a first 1-year extension for subdivision short plat approval for White Pines Townhouse, and then a second 1-year extension for subdivision preliminary plat for Northland subdivision. So those were all the consent agenda items, and all of those were recommended for approval or approved if that was appropriate. The extensions, as a reminder, the extensions are approval basis for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then the final plats are recommendations onto you, and that was on your consent agenda tonight. We had 5 different public hearings that night as well. The first one was an annexation and zoning and subdivision preliminary plat approval for Regatta Crossing. This is for 58 single-family attached townhouse dwelling units, 100 single-family detached dwelling units, 4 commercial lots, and 22 common lots. This is near the southeast area of Eustick Road and Northside Boulevard, and that was recommended for approval with 5 yeses and 1 no. The next one is a conditional use permit for Mason Creek RV, and it's an expansion of an existing RV park. and that one was recommended for approval unanimously. Annexation and zoning and conditional use permit for Summer Breeze. This is just one parcel assisted living facility. This is where the Greenhurst Nursery used to be, on Happy Valley south of Greenhurst. And that one was recommended for approval unanimously. Next is a preliminary plat for Greenhurst Cottages, and this is off of Sunny Ridge Road in Greenhurst. And this was for 43 cottage-style single-family detached dwelling units. This has been approved in the past as a concept, but then this is the preliminary plat for it. And that was unanimous. And then the last one was zoning text amendment to repeal and replace the city code Title 10, Chapter 23 for signs. And that will be coming to you in March. All of those ones I just mentioned will be coming to you in March, on March 2nd. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Rodney. Appreciate that. All right. So you can tell things remain busy in the planning world. So thanks for what you and your team does, Rodney. I really appreciated. All right, we're going to move on to new business now. And item 5.1 is an action item to authorize the mayor to sign a change order with Knife River. Crystal, you have this item. Would you like to present to council? No? Okay. She stands available if there's any questions, but this is a change order in the amount of $122,088.95. And this is to deal with the Phyllis Canal.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and this is a roll call vote, so I'd have the clerk take roll.
Gog.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay, action 5.2 is to authorize budget reallocation of $250,000 to pay for an emergency replacement of a culvert, and to authorize the mayor and public works director to sign the task order with Ardura for the culvert rehab. This is Elijah Drain at Pine and Lincoln, an amount not to exceed $89,000, $89,756. I do want to note that this is pending a reallocation in the FY26 budget. I have spoken with CFO Racine, and we keep a running tally of these items, but we're essentially asking for your approval on this authority, but it still needs to be formalized in the budget amendment, which will come at a future time. Can you just briefly
Sure.
brief council on that?
So what we're doing is a slight difference from prior years is as we seek to use existing budgetary authority for non-budgeted items, we'll come to council for the approval to do so, and then we will bring that forward as part of the amendment. So it might be like a zero-sum game where we're just moving it from one project to another, but it will come before council for their approval, and we'll track each of these changes and allows us to get it back into our budgetary system and make sure that we are keeping both the council apprised and keeping good track of the budgetary authority.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Griffin?
question if I could.
Yes.
At this point, do we know which budget that'll come from or which project it'll be taking from?
Great question, Councilman. Crystal, would you like to handle that?
Yeah, Mayor. Testing.
That is brutal. Sorry to the public. Crystal will come to the mic up front.
I apologize for that. Mayor, Councilman Griffin, thank you for the question. So this is a drain, so it's Elijah Drain, which means it's 50/50 shared between irrigation budget and streets budget. The $250,000 that we have called out right now for annual stormwater is out of the streets. So I will be coming also with a budget amendment for the remaining 440 it's going to take all in to get this one completed. Part of that will come out of irrigation, part of that will come out of streets.
And is there any specific projects that it will be taking from? I know we allotted those funds specifically for something else, and now that we're having to reorganize because it is an emergency, Just curious what that's going to take from.
Mayor, Councilman Griffin, potentially, if I'm being honest. So this is one of the projects that I shared at the December 15th staff comm when I spoke about Elijah Drain, and I said, hey, there's two that we already know are emergency repairs that'll be coming before council. I also described two more that I said we're watching, which could also be emergency repairs. The annual stormwater project, typically we pick one project each year based on highest need at the time. This is this year's project, so we're not going to do another preventative maintenance or a lining of some sort because this is taking precedence over it.
Crystal and Council, I believe, Mayor, I believe we also have a contingency in the budget built to absorb such emergencies in the streets budget. Perhaps not in irrigation, but I know we do it in the streets, so the intent would be lacking a specific project to take it out of the contingency budget that's already built in, and then failing all else in the irrigation, if needed, we can pull that from fund balance, but that would come before council, and I don't think we'd need to, though.
Mayor Huckabee.
Yes, Councilman Rodriguez.
This is for both of you, Crystal and Doug. Is it possible to leave the budget intact with the way it is now and use part of the CIP monies to pay for emergencies like this?
When you say CIP, if you're talking about the impact fees, no. If you're talking about our capital fund, the
Capital improvement
CWP,
funds.
that's essentially what we're doing.
Oh, is it?
We're not going to increase the budget. We're going to keep the budget exactly as it is and just transfer authority from one project to another. That's the whole intent here, is to make sure we're not increasing the budget. And if they were going to increase the budget, the action item would be written such to say this would be an amendment, an increase in funding, and then they would explain where that funding is coming from.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
one final question. What is the standing balance of that contingency budget in the streets department that will be taken from, and will you anticipate we replenish that for next budget cycle?
First, I think it was $800,000.
Mayor, Councilman Griffin, I think it's $600,000.
$600,000, yeah.
We just approved part of the contingency budget being used in the change order that was on item right before this, 5-1.
Thank you.
All good questions. Council, I appreciate the distinctions that are made. This is a budget reallocation, so it's not a net increase over the bottom line dollar amount that was approved in the budget, but in the spirit of transparency, there's line items that are enumerated in the budget that are approved. And so when there's a significant pivot like this, which is a reallocation, the contingency is always going to be the first resort. And then if you exhaust the contingency, you're going to have to say no to something else. And my guess is, I think, as Councilman Griffin was asking, that there would be council interest, I think, from staff. And I would also ask that staff includes what are we saying no to if we get to that point? And are we inviting input from council on that decision? Does staff have a recommendation on bumping on a priority issue? But obviously, when you have these emergency replacements, it's not something that was foreseen, and you're having to exercise some agility within the budgetary framework. And so I appreciate staff bringing this forward, and this would be a reallocation and within the budget. So if are there any more questions from council? If not, entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. And this is also a roll call. Thank you, Crystal.
Skog.
Yes.
Chingula. Bills.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
All right, we're moving on. Section, item 5.3. This is also a task order with Keller Associates for the Purdom Sewer Trunk Project Extension in the amount not to exceed $521,000. This was approved in the in the FY26 budget. So
So moved.
okay, we have a motion. Second.
Mayor?
Discussion? Yes, Councilman Griffin?
Just one question, just regarding the budget as a whole and the project as a whole. Are we, at this point, on track, on time, and in budget? Have there been any constraints that we're going to foresee in the future budget that we need to offset? Are we allocating properly and projects getting done within the budget that we anticipated?
Great question. John, would you like to address that?
John Spencer, Director of Water Resources. Mayor, Councilman Griffin. Currently, they are on budget from their initial estimate. And actually, it's slightly been reduced once we've gone to some of the contracts. I would defer to Doug on the overall budgeting. He's been working on the overall project and the budgeting and the financial side of that.
So this is probably one of the more complex projects because it requires funding from multiple sources and takes place over multiple years. So we are completing the presentation of how that budget will look like, how it will take place over the years, and where the funding source will be by year for each section. Right now, it's looking to be on track. There's nothing deviating, but finance has partnered and will continue to partner with wastewater to track the spend by funding source and by year to keep it within the project. And at an appropriate time, I think this will come before council to present that valuation to you.
Thank you.
Great questions. Any other questions? We do have a motion and a second, so we're still in deliberation. And if there's any more questions for Director John Spencer? Okay, you can have a seat. Thanks, John. Okay, council, if there's no further deliberation, I'd ask the clerk to proceed with the roll call vote.
Skog.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
All right, we're moving along. 5.4 is what's next, and this is authorizing the mayor to sign a contract. I believe that's pronounced La Riviere, Inc., for an annual irrigation replacement. This is an amount not to exceed $739,761. This was approved in the budget, and this was also subject to a bid process. Council has any questions, this would also go to Director John Spencer. So any questions from council or a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. The clerk will take roll on this as well.
Skog.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
All right, we are moving to our last item under new business. That could be confusing. There are items also on the agenda beyond new business, but we have public hearings and unfinished business. This is a discussion item, and I want to emphasize that this is a discussion item and this is not an action item. Okay, council is not taking action tonight. This is to bring into kind of put on the public record discussions among multiple agencies, mostly us and the Nampa School District, about the possibility of a land swap and what those properties might be. The packet involves a lot of that information. And so I would say what would be helpful tonight in this discussion phase is to, again, note this is not a public hearing, so we're not opening up to the public for 3-minute comment on this. If we were to proceed to contemplate this as an actual formal action, it would go through a public hearing process in which the public, we would be obligated to solicit public input, and we would be happy to receive public input on this item. The public is allowed to send comments. Some of the members of the public have sent letters indicating some of their thoughts on this. The packet also includes some letters, including a letter from, say, Babe Ruth, for example, supportive of this framework. So we are definitely soliciting public input to determine whether or not we want to proceed with further exploration of this framework. And tonight is an opportunity to kind of lay out what the terms are, may be, what flexibility there might be within the terms that the council would potentially find acceptable, as well as the Nampa School District, which we appreciate. So Director Cody Swander, why don't you kind of tee it up for us and let us know the details on this item. And Nampa School District's also present to provide some input. And this is really an opportunity for council to ask questions and explore the possibility of this. So Cody.
Great. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Good evening. Cody Swander, Director of Nampa Parks and Recreation. Mayor Hogaboon did a fantastic job of teeing this up for me, but Back in June, you may have, I don't think Councilwoman Skog has received the letter because she wasn't in the seat quite yet, but you may remember a letter coming from Nampa School District with a proposal for some sort of a property swap for lands that city maintains in its parks and recreation system known as Rodeo Park and Stampede Park in exchange for approximately 43 acres that the school district owns on the corner or near the corner of Airport Road and Robinson Road in East Nampa. And with that proposal, there's been lots of discussion with the school district back and forth between Nampa Parks and Recreation Department and what the needs would be from our department and whether we would support some sort of a swap and or would not, and what that may look like going forward. I have Courtney Stauffer and Will Barber here from Nampa School District, and I'll turn some time over to them to kind of present that proposal to you. I think that my role here is to reiterate that the benefit I see in this proposal as Nampa Parks and Recreation Director would be the obtainment of the 43 acres that is needed for a future soccer-type facility for City of Nampa, a need that we've recognized in our impact fee CIPs and other areas, our master planning efforts as a need in Nampa. And this is one possible way to perhaps achieve that. And then the other reason that I'm here in support of this kind of conceptually is because of the relationship that the school district has voiced that they would prefer, that they would like to carry forward with the user groups, the primary user groups anyway, that utilize Rodeo Field and Stampede Park, namely American Legion Baseball and Nampa Babe Ruth Baseball, softball. So with that, let me turn some time over, unless there's questions initially, to the Nampa School District team.
Great, thanks. Courtney? Can you just identify yourself for the record? Thanks.
Mayor, City Council, my name is Courtney Stauffer. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Operations for the Nampa School District. With me is Will Barber, who is our District Athletic Director as well. Thank you for taking some time to allow us to come and visit with you. Again, we are here on an exploratory mission from our district office and from our trustees. As was presented, we conceptually have talked about some ideas of a potential land swap that would benefit both, we think that would benefit the city, our community, and the school district as well. We have identified some of those properties as far as has been mentioned as well with our airport property and then also with the city properties. Our intent is really to get some ideas from the City Council of what their thoughts are initially before we all go and invest a lot of time, energy, and effort and even some money to acquire some of the things needed if it is not something that the City Council is interested in. So it is something, again, that we're here to just explore and answer any questions that we can. Some questions we might have some answers for, and some we may not, because that's why we're here to find out if there is indeed enough interest to move to the next steps of acquiring more detailed information. So with that, Mayor, I think that's the basis, and I'm happy to answer any other questions that may be out there. I'm sure there's several, but we would love to at least take those in and answer those, and also prepare if we don't have some of the answers for those as well.
Courtney, Will, good to have you here tonight. I'll ask a question, and of course, council can ask some questions. Can you, in quick summary, just answer the big question, the why question? Yeah.
Yeah, the why question. Nampa, in the Nampa School District, Nampa High School has not had any of their own fields for quite a long time. We have partnered with the city and also with American Legion in renting rodeo and also with partnership with the parks with West Park to facilitate our softball programs. So currently the high school, Nampa High School, does not have any of their softball or baseball facilities on site. So that was kind of the genesis of where this came from. I know there's been conversations over the years of just litmus tests of the district's properties that we have, if there was any interest, and there hasn't been in the past, and now our board did authorize me to start looking for potential uses for our land and swapping out some of our assets for other assets. So that's really the quick background of it. Is the need was generated to have our own fields within inside the school district.
Mayor Hugabone.
Yes, Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you. I know this is just the beginning of the whole process, so do you have, I have a twofold question. Number one, do you have a study of the impact to our community should you take over this property, and should we take over the land for soccer? Now, keep in mind that I used to be a soccer coach at Skyline High School, and my granddaughter is on the United States Olympic junior team in soccer. So I'm really related to soccer. And I really liked that when I heard that there was going to be soccer fields. That is secret, I mean, that is close to the soccer availability like in Boise and Caldwell even in Brothers Park. So do you know the impact, fiscal impact plus the social impact that it would do for you and for us?
Mayor and Councilman Rodriguez, I think that's a great question. Have we done in-depth? No. That's part of the things that we have discussed and wanting to know if there was an interest level for us to initiate those. Some of those can cost us, and we wanted to make sure that there was interest before we came and presented some of those ideas, before we accrued costs. So the answer is, at this current time, we don't. We have some ancillary components, but nothing as far as a formal study.
I see follow-up, Mayor.
Yes.
And I know some of this property, especially the Boys and Girls Club and the Hispanic building, are in somewhat of an array of borderlines. So how would you take care of those?
Mayor and Councilman Rodriguez, we do recognize there would have to be some land divisions that take place within the city before that would be the appropriate parcels identified. So there would have to be some parcel separations as well at the city level.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. Exercise, oh, Councilman Griffin's trying to turn the mic on. It's still red.
It stays red.
But I can hear you, though.
That's why I tap it before to know.
Councilman Rodriguez's mic is green. I don't know if you want to use
He's lucky. No, I know it works.
Oh,
You can hear me over there? Okay, good deal.
All right.
I got 3 questions if I could, Mayor.
Yeah.
The first, who owns the northeast corner of the property? I know it's cut pretty, 2/3 and 1/3. Who owns the upper third of the property?
Mayor and Councilman Griffin, I do not know off the top of my head. I know how to find it, but I have not.
But it's not
engaged
with
in
the
that.
school district.
It is not. No, that whole parcel that you have been identified in red is the school district parcel. We do own another subsequent parcel that is right on the corner of the roundabout. There's another 10 acres, which we have purposely wanted to keep.
I'm sorry to interrupt, just for the record. Cody's going to pop on so that the public can see what we're talking about. So the packet is publicly available as a public document, but just so that the public can follow along a little bit. So go ahead and proceed, but I just want to give a little bit of time for Cody to try to get going, and then he'll have that up here shortly. So, sorry, carry on. Thank you.
While he's pulling that up, I would just then make a comment. I would like to see a deed restriction applied that this will maintain a community benefit and baseball fields or the sorts in continuance. So that's the only comment I really had. The 10 acres in the corner. I'm sure it'll pull up on the screen, but.
Right in the middle of the conversation.
I know.
Sure. Mayor, excuse me, I'm used to trustees, so I apologize, Councilman Griffin. Again, going back to first your comment, we would anticipate some of those, and also we would also, from the district side of things, probably have some deed restrictions for our property as well. So there's some mutual component, which we understand that could be a component of it. And even in our initial letter, we recognize that as a possibility as well, and are aware of that would be something that the city could be interested in. Is again, going back to the original comment from Councilman Rodriguez, this is what we would look at as far as the property that we're interested in. We do not have interest on the rest of those properties. And then to the subsequent conversation where the district property is, which is the next slide, down on the corner of Airport and let's see, there it is, Airport and Robinson at that new roundabout. You'll notice there's a canal that is in the right next to that roundabout. That 10 acres right there is district owned, and we'd like to maintain that for future expansion is needed on that side of town. So that's some of the studies that we have would suggest that that might be the only use for this land would be for an elementary school, as our high school and middle schools are in enough proximity to be able to cover the load of students.
Thank you. And then I have a difficult time as well, not calling you Mr. Stoffer. He was my high school principal. So,
So he can share a lot about.
oh man,
I'm sure.
Now we know who to get on.
if you would like me to vacate, that's the guy you go to right now. Topography was my final question. What's the topography of the project and how difficult this likely will be for Cody? Would it be to be able to create soccer field spaces on this property for the project that we desire with that and potential costs that you foresee right now?
Now,
And ballpark numbers are good.
Yeah, Mayor and Councilman Griffin, I don't have a number for you. I did propose this to one of the landscape architects that we work with on other park projects, just to get like a field number count. He looked at the topography. He said that it would likely take some grading work to do, but was feasible to do and not out of the realm of possible.
Thank you. And grass can sufficiently grow there. It's not an issue there.
Mayor, Trustee Griffin, they did it again. Councilman Griffin, it's currently a farm right now, so it's growing things right now, so we don't anticipate any issues of growing grass in it. It has been farmed for several years, and so we do not anticipate that.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for answering the questions.
Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman Jangula.
Thank you. This is for Cody. Cody, how many soccer fields do you think that we can get on this parcel? And then what is the timeline, do you think, until we have that built out? And does that meet the need for what we're wanting for this area?
Mayor, Councilwoman Jangula, those are great questions. Of course, we haven't done as far as a concept level. What I had the architect, let's see, one. We have 13 fields basically roughly placed on here. They sized all the way from full-size soccer facilities to kind of the smaller age groups, because a soccer field varies in size based on the age demographic utilizing it. So I think that we could fit that number on there if we were to utilize it to its max capacity. If we wanted more larger fields, then of course the number would shrink. The timeline on it is also in question. One of the things that we are currently exploring is if this property swap were to happen, dollars that have been earmarked in the city's parks impact fee budget, instead of using that money to purchase land, it could hopefully, and this is the answer I'm waiting for from the impact fee consultants, is whether those dollars can be used to actually develop that land. Although purchasing and developing is in the impact fee as line items for a future soccer facility, which one could happen first, I'm waiting for an answer for, but I believe the answer would be that those dollars would be available sooner than later to at least start a phase of construction. How many acres that involved, how fast those dollars were eaten up with infrastructure such as frontage improvements, parking lots, power and infrastructure is yet to be known.
Does that meet our goal for what we're wanting for that area?
It does. We were trying to look for somewhere between 40 and 50 acres roughly when we were looking for parcels of property. Nampa's hot spots for areas of our community that are underserved by parks are in East Nampa and North Nampa. And so this hit in a geographic area that was beneficial for our master plan as well.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman.
Just a follow-up to Councilwoman Jangula's question. 13 parks with sufficient parking, or would that encompass 13 full parks on the property, not including parking?
We do have the area designated in the rendering for parking as well. I don't have a specific, Councilman Griffin, for stall numbers or anything like that, but we would certainly want to provide adequate parking because this area of town has no on-street parking available.
Thank you. And then one final question in regard to the city center, you could say, the residential area. How many minutes of a drive would this be to this location? 15, 20, 25?
It really, Mayor, Councilman Griffin, that's a difficult question. I didn't start at City Hall and head that direction, so I don't know that answer. I did look on the map from we are 1 mile from current city limits as you head back to the west.
Thank you.
For this old dog, Counselor, 10 and a half minutes.
Exactly.
Right
30
there,
and 32 seconds.
within 5 to 7 seconds, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
Cody, we have that timeline with the CWI space for that 10 years. Would this potentially be done within that time frame for us to shift the use from there to this?
Mayor, Councilwoman Jangula, I believe it could if that was our priority and spending impact fee dollars, identifying those projects. There's multiple projects, more than can ever be funded on our CIP. So it's traditionally we have gone wherever the priority is for those. So if completing the park within that 10-year window is the priority, I believe we could get there, yes.
I don't know. Oh,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I don't know about the rest of the council, but I'm about ready for another conveyance. So maybe we should keep that as an option. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Cody, I asked Nampa kind of the why, and I think some of the questions maybe from council, the public might not be fully aware of the arrangements that currently exist, but the soccer fields in front of CWI are utilized by, is it Premier Sports League? And there's hundreds of kids who play soccer. And so the city has worked to provide that space. And I want to be clear, that's not a Parks and Rec league per se on the Saturday Soccer League. Just like Babe Ruth is not a city-run league, right? We facilitate space and recreational activities for nonprofits and other entities that take the organizational obligations to ensure that the hundreds of kids in our community have a safe place to play and recreate. But as Cody mentioned earlier, a soccer park, a destination soccer park is next on the city's priority list, as Councilwoman Jangula referenced, that there is a clock ticking on the arrangement with CWI. That's not a permanent or 100-year or 1,000-year arrangement for the use of the soccer fields. That's a 10-year, as Councilwoman Jangula referred to. So I know that there's lots of parents who have kids playing soccer that are concerned about what the city is proactively doing right now to ensure that approaching 1,000 kids playing soccer will have a home a decade from now. And right now, the best answer is we're working on it. But that's partly maybe behind the why that Cody and the city is contemplating the school district. I would say the impact fees that were referenced earlier are really important. As you're aware, impact fees are based on a capital improvement plan. There's legal framework that you're collecting those impact fees only to be spent as contemplated and as enumerated. And I asked Cody to reach out to Tischler Bice to get an answer on this, which is very important to me because impact fees have been collected contemplating the purchase, the land acquisition. We weren't contemplating the possibility of a swap where we have the land. And can we use and expend the funds that have been collected under that premise to expend on the build out of the park? That's a very important. I'm hoping that there's a favorable response where there's flexibility allowed for that. There would also be a net formula that would likely have to be at play here because the city would be technically offloading on its asset inventory the acreage that is gaining this acreage, and you just do some simple math, and that would be the net gain. There might need to be some formulaic work done on how the impact fees could potentially be expended just on that net differential. I know that's very technical, but those are very important aspects to how the dollars and cents might move on this. Deed restrictions were mentioned earlier. If I heard the council or school district appropriately, deed restrictions are sort of anticipated or would be considered. To the extent, what I'm curious is, council, how important is it to you that any potential land swap that goes to the school district, that there's deed restriction on those properties, that the properties be used and, in its current state or some recreational flexibility? And how important would that then be that any land that the city also gets is constrained to recreational uses only? I'm kind of asking that question of council.
Mayor?
Yeah, yes, okay, hot. Let's go to Councilman Bills and then.
So a couple of things. As council may remember, when we had discussions about land acquisition, the acreage price in the marketplace has exceeded what we're able to collect in impact fees, so the trade makes sense. We can't get enough money in to make the purchase of bared land for park. And so this idea is very helpful and workable for what the city is wanting to do. And so that part's really important. The second part of it is, far as stipulation, there should be a stipulation that what we're trading is going to stay in its similar use. I don't want to say actual, from the standpoint that I believe the school district would need to have flexibility on how they write their agreements with the groups using the park. I don't suggest that city council get into that per se. But otherwise, the stipulation of just that it's going to remain ballpark, et cetera, would be a part of the trade and the stipulation on the deed.
Okay. Councilman Griffin?
Mayor, just a perspective from this seat, I would like to see the deed restriction similar to what Councilman Bills had stated. I know that Mr. Stauffer has a good heart for baseball and the program playing there when you were in high school too. I'm sure gives you the sentimental aspect. When he's gone, I hope the next person feels the same way, but we never know. So that's why I would like to see that maintained. I would hate to see us trade one community benefit for a soccer field and then have that go away. So I think baseball's as important and as influential for the youth as soccer fields would be. I would like to see both now in our community, not one or the other. So from my perspective.
Very good. I personally love baseball. Did not play soccer very well, but I pitched. I love baseball as well. And I know hundreds of kids love soccer. And so as you referenced, Councilman, part of the appeal, just personally speaking, is that the uses on the recreational uses would continue generally as is without the city having to assume the cost liabilities of maintenance, while also being able to expand to a soccer field within the 10-year horizon that we have before we lose the guarantee of use on the CWI. So this would be a net gain, even though you subtract maybe the acreage that goes to the school district from the city's portfolio to the community, it's not different because they're still getting the beneficial use. So it would, on the whole, it's a net improvement to overall quality of life. I think council, I'm speaking for myself on this, and I think council would share this sentiment. We care deeply about the historic use of American Legion baseball, and they are very much appreciated as partners. Played American Legion. There's not here in Nampa, in the state that we don't name, Southern California. Played American Legion, and I remember our road trip. Actually, it was the first time I went through Idaho. We went through Idaho, Montana, South Dakota. So great memories of what American Legion and that tournament does. We also value Babe Ruth. We also value the school district. It is kind of awkward to have your home campus without a varsity baseball field on the campus. And everyone's been good partners, the city with American Legion, with the school district, and that arrangement's worked. But I understand from the city's perspective, there's a willingness to solidify sort of a permanency in this arrangement, and thus why an asset is being contemplated to offer up to the city in a swap. So any other questions or thoughts from council? Yes.
I do have one. So Cody, I know the city's wanted to invest in that property. One would be, we've been talking about easier access into Rodeo Park and the baseball diamonds and behind. But unfortunately, there's only one way in and one way out off of Garrity. Do you foresee ever the city of Nampa making it easier access? And then I have a follow-up question.
Mayor and Councilman Rodriguez, I just don't know how to make that happen. If I can flip back to my previous slide real quick, I'd like to point to something on that.
Okay.
As you can see, the road frontage is pretty limited on the property. Along Garrity, other than going through the ballpark itself, there's just not an option. And then off 11th Avenue North, making that connection without stepping into the 4 softball fields is just something that I can't picture how to make that actually work. So I think that access is going to continue to be an issue there.
Okay, so now this goes back to the school district. Ms. Stauffer, would you be wanting to address this issue I just spoke about and maybe go through a different avenue of easier access? And even if you go through Snake River background there.
Mayor and Councilman Rodriguez, I think it's a great question. Anybody that's visited this area knows that it's an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way. One of the things that is attractive to this particular parcel, not only for its assets of the ball fields, is that it surrounds Snake River Elementary. We already have property that borders, as you can see, on 3 sides to this property. So now when we look at the package, if we did proceed to move forward and the council and the city and the school board moved forward with the land swap, we would now have a bigger parcel that we could look at different options to figure out a way to offset some of the things that you've mentioned. So yes, it is in our interest level. There are several different options that we have on the surface level scratched, but we have not gone beyond that to identify the entrance components. Now, we have talked a lot about parking and how we can create additional parking, but now having the school property associated with it, we do have other opportunities. We're not limited to the current boundaries that are currently there. So we do think we can have some solutions to that in the future.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Mayor, one quick question for Cody. Cody, do you know how much it costs the parks every year to maintain this property for the Stampede Park and Rodeo Park?
Mayor, Councilwoman Jangila, I don't have it exactly figured for this property, but I do an annual estimate on property cost per acre. And it's not exact science because not every acre costs the same to maintain, right? So, but on average, we're around $7,000 per acre to maintain all of the park system.
Okay, thank you.
Question for Cody on the parcel that we would be potentially receiving. You mentioned how far from city limits is it?
I believe it was right at 1 mile.
Okay, so there's limitations on utility access?
Yes, Mayor, I believe there would be, there would not be sewer connection and perhaps city water connection, so.
Mr. Mayor, if I could. The school district actually, a number of years ago, extended water and sewer to that site. And so there is utility access at the site. Okay,
good. That was clarification I was wanting.
Thank you, Daniel.
But it would potentially be a city-owned park, but not in city limits.
There is the property to the north of this that we have had discussions about for development. And so the property to the north of them would be contiguous across the freeway. And so as soon as that comes in for development, which is something that that property owner has been contemplating, this property would then be contiguous and annexable.
Okay, very good. Encouraging feedback. We still have time, council, if you have any more questions. I know we will move to public hearings shortly thereafter 6, but do want to allow time on this. Okay. Good, council. So I don't see angry pitchforks up here from the dais thinking that this is an outrageous consideration. I would say that the questions you've answered have given some feedback to council. I would say the next steps would be to contemplate this formally and go through a formal process. There will need to be details that have been alluded to, referenced earlier about potential deed restrictions, what that language would look like and drafted, and we would need to appropriately address those issues moving forward. But I think, Cody, does this kind of give you the feedback? I know Cody was just hoping to try to get a sense, and I think the school district as well, whether this is kind of DOA, or if there's, that's dead on arrival, for those who don't know, or if there's potential future consideration.
So Mayor, do you want a motion?
I think this is a discussion item.
It's just a temperature reading.
Temperature reading, if there's a lot of opposition here, I think you can read into that, and this would probably not move forward anymore. It also gives me some direction on how much time to spend with staff in contemplating the finer details of this to bring back before council.
So I'd make a motion that we continue to explore the possibility of this trade. No motion?
No motion.
It's the same red thing here.
Okay,
Mayor,
just trying to give an indication so we know where we're going.
Yeah, and probably just a point of order to just say, have an informal just vote or input on it. Yeah.
We're good. I'll move it forward, and I would not want to put council in a position to say you're absolutely for
right,
or
there was no
against this
action.
position.
Sorry.
Because the details still need to be hammered out, but I would like to see maybe some potential flexibility. I know the city's intent would be soccer parks, soccer fields on that park, but I don't want to complicate things. I know that we might be able to squeeze in possibly a small parcel for other, I would say very clearly public sector benefit if there was a need for a police substation. I know our preference is north of the interstate moving forward, but I talked to Chief Huff. And right now, based on the land value that Councilman Bills is saying, it's hard to be pretty picky and preferential right now. You want to try to be strategic, but we don't own all the land, and you have to have a willing seller, and the parcel size needs to be consistent. But clearly, as a growing community, police, fire, there's multiple entities that are looking to do land acquisition for public use. But I think the primary goal of this would be in the Parks and Rec portfolio as soccer fields with the looming horizon. Yes.
And Mayor, one point I would like to add that I might not have made clear earlier is we envision this park not strictly soccer. I envision it being more of a community park like Midway is, where baseball is the focus. However, there's still playground elements, shelter elements, community elements that make it a destination site other than just for soccer.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's helpful. The amenities that you'd associate with the park.
Mayor Hogaboam?
Yes.
I'd like to say publicly that I'd like to take a better look at this.
Yes.
Yes, that's all.
All right, well, gentlemen, with no further questions, I think that concludes, Councilman Griffin.
Just
Yes.
a couple points for me before we move forward. I'm fine moving forward and get more of the details refined. Before it comes back for a final vote, I would like to see the deed restriction language on that, then the project cost, as well as the impact fee breakdown. Worst case scenario, we'll give the school district $1 and say that, and we'll use the impact fee dollars to buy it. And then the timeline, if we're able to meet that goal of 10 years. I wouldn't want to see this built out prior, likely the 10 years, so we're hitting that mark for the transition from CWI over. But I'm not picky there either. I just want to know some of the fleshed out details.
No, great input, Councilman. I think I would look for a potential phased approach based on the cost and the timing. You might be able to derive some immediate beneficial use with, let's say, a playground structure in the near term, and then have that progress out with the soccer fields based on cost. And we also need to get clarification on the use of impact fees and other things. So that's all very good input. So we will progress forward with future consideration of this. Thank you, gentlemen, for what you do for the Nampa School District, for being present tonight. Thanks, Cody. You guys, that concludes this discussion item, so you may be seated. I do want to acknowledge that there are members in the public. I don't want to create a public hearing item where we're inviting members at this time, because this was just a discussion item on this item, but there will be, when there's formalized future consideration of this, continued public input on this item. So I just don't want any members of the public feeling that they're being excluded from giving input at this time, because it's just a discussion item. There are no proclamations tonight, which was item 6, and so we're going to move to 7. Before we move to public hearing, I know that's scheduled at 6. I do want to state again, for the public, some folks, members of the public, just arrived, and if you are here for item 8.1, we are going to open public hearing, but then do a continuance to a future date on that, because the applicant has requested a continuance. So the intention tonight is not to deal with 8.1. you can stay and you can trust and verify that that in fact will take place. But if you are here for 8-1, that is what the intent will be. So you don't need to stick around if you don't want to. Not telling you to leave on 8-1, but just saying that that's what the intent is on 8-1, just as a courtesy.
Mayor?
Yes.
Could you tell the public what 8-1 is specifically, just in case they don't know?
Yes, 8-1 is annexation and zoning in a zoning comp plan text amendment to the Highway 2026 specific area plan. So on Prescott Lane. So it's the Prescott Lane development. So that's what 8-1 is. And that one's going to be continued. All right, at this time is our public forum. So Nampa residents wishing to speak on a non-agenda item will have 3 minutes. And we do ask when you come forward to identify your name and address, please. And we do have some signed up. So clerk, would you please call an order that you have?
Mr. Mayor, our first speaker is Lizette Soto.
Hey, Lisette, how are you? You'll have 3 minutes, and as soon as you identify your name and address, then the clock will start, all right?
Okay, my name is Lisette Soto, and I live at 503 South Davin Creek Loop. And tonight, I just wanted to bring some things to your attention. So I'm going to go ahead and read what I wrote. That's okay, thank you. So good evening, Mayor and City Council members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. So driving the roads of our wonderful town sometimes can be a little on the confusing side. One moment, we may see a sign that shows us our speed limit to be a certain number, and in a matter of blocks, that speed is no longer accurate. As in literally a blink of an eye, it has changed to either a higher or a lower speed, and this is without warning. So many of the city roads are like this. So while driving, I can appreciate how the city of Nampa has traffic signs posted that help and alert motorists that a change in the speed limit is forthcoming. As we can see on 12th Avenue while coming back from Cuna on the north side, as we exit Interstate 84 approaching 3rd, thereby allowing the motorists sufficient time to reduce their speed. On northbound 11th Avenue, just past Cherry Lane, north of the school, there is a speed limit sign that has flashing lights that also alert the driver from quite a distance away the speed limit change. On southbound Canada Road, there are posted signs to the change in speed limit due to the construction in the area. These are but a few examples of where the city of Nampa has rightfully and appropriately set a precedent alerting drivers of upcoming changes in speed limits. However, I believe that leaving City Hall on 3rd Street South and at 35 miles an hour and then abruptly reducing the speed to 25 miles an hour within a short block and a half distance creates much confusion for drivers. Not only because of the precedent set by the city as mentioned in my previous examples, but also because it is surrounded by busy thoroughfares that segue into the downtown business district. Ideally, there should be better signage around the Nampa City Hall and the business district. It would be beneficial to all drivers, locals, and visitors to the city alike. I brought some photos of the signs I mentioned and what I would suggest that we put out. So I'm happy to share those if you'd like. So I have some that are just, they go from the 35 to the 25. It's like literally a block and a half. And then we've got the speed limit ahead signs that come in handy when in the city. I have another one that's got the speed limit to coming up 45. And then here's the school one that has the flashing light. Oops. And then we have these that are the temporary ones, which obviously show that the city does know that it's needed in some areas. So my suggestion.
Mr. Mayor, time.
Oh, my time. Okay.
You
Anyways,
just wrap up your final thought.
Okay. So here's my suggestions for the city, just so that we can get those out into the business district. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. You just showed that you can pack a lot in 3 minutes. I'm prepared. I would ask if you can turn those exhibits over. Crystal, would you be willing? Crystal Craig is our Director of Transportation.
Okay.
And we can collect those, and of course, it's a multi-jurisdictional effort. And we do have an amazing sign-making facility within the city, or traffic division. And I think that this is something we take under advisement. I don't want you to feel disrespected in bringing these comments and then not have an answer, because the public comment is really just an opportunity to hear you and not invite conversation or discussion, but your input is greatly valued. I know you took time, prepared those comments and those exhibits, and our staff, I will follow up with our staff.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Lisette, yes.
Mr. Mayor, our next speaker is Melissa Robinson.
My name is Melissa Sue Robinson, 15 Fifth Street North, Unit 210, Nampa. Okay. Get this thing to work. Using up my time here. I had it right open. It's a good speech, too. The way it goes here. I'll find it.
Sorry, I don't want to, we can wait for you to find it, or we can swap. We have someone else signed up. Do you want to follow the next person so you can
Yeah,
have
I'll
some
do
time to
that.
find that? Okay, thank you. All right. You're not losing your place in line. We're just going to bump to the next person. All right. Clerk.
Our next speaker is Brian Person.
Is it okay if I lean this against the?
Yeah, that is fine. Yep. Or not? Oh, I don't. You think the TV is going to fall over?
Broadcast it.
Oh, yeah. I know. I think your intention is for us to see it. Okay, yes, okay. Okay, we're fine, yes. So once you state your name and address, then you'll have 3 minutes as well, Ryan.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Brian Pearson. I'm at 17754 Polaire Way in Napa. And the purpose for me being here is to bring to your attention the rock placing company that is off of Ustick Road, west of Northside, and immediately backing up to Northside Estates, as you can see in the photo. As the name implies, they are really a quarry operation. They handle rocks from the size of small automobiles, but heavier to small rock. And the incoming rock loads are offloaded, and then rock are dispatched into trucks. As far as the noise goes, it doesn't take much to imagine what 6 to 8 to 12-inch rock dumped into a steel bed of a truck would be. And that's what starts at 6 a.m., at least 5 days a week, and sometimes 6. The noise also is augmented by constant backup alarms, and vibration is another aspect. I'm going to say that when they offload the larger rocks, it would register on a Richter, on a seismograph on the nearby homes. The vibration is that severe. Some of the residents say that the vibration is worse than the noise. Light, beginning at 6 a.m., a lot of the equipment has lights for backing up and going forward. It shines over the fences that you see and into the windows of the adjoining bedrooms. So how did we get here? 5 or so years ago, there was annexation and rezoning proposal for this parcel. We said it doesn't fit with the comprehensive plan because it's a severe or abrupt change in land use, and it would be incompatible with adjoining uses. Nonetheless, it got approved. We took a look at the development agreement. There were 30 permitted uses listed. 25 of them have no business, in my opinion, up next to the back of homes, yet there were. The development agreement for this one, of those 20, of the 30 permitted uses, the one closest to this is building materials. This is not building materials. Franklin Building Supply sells building materials. Home Depot, one end of it, sells building materials. This is a quarry operation, basically. In the development agreement, we asked for a buffer. We have a few hundred feet between this and heavy and light industrial. We got a 30-foot buffer, as you can see in the photo, 30 inches tall, a 6-foot vinyl fence, and a few trees. So the development agreement didn't work out very well for us either. The development agreement includes 2 provisions of city code, one having to do with, and it uses the term obnoxious or obtrusive, noise, vibration, light, radioactivity, or other things. This touches bases of all of those, each one of those. Another provision of city code in the development agreement is you can't have materials that are stockpiled within view of the address street nor any other public street. This has stockpiles 5 times the height of the fence. So these houses along the back of the property, their enjoyment of their homes has been compromised. This is wintertime. When they get out in their yards, what's it going to be like? Who's going to buy them if they choose to move and sell? Values have been compromised as well. My suspicion is that it just got away from us. I just don't think the city of Nampa would purposely do this to people. I think this one just snuck through the cracks, that, you know, perhaps the use wasn't understood. Something happened. Something went wonky.
Okay, thank you, Brian, for your testimony. I'm sorry to give you a little extra time to kind of wrap your thoughts. I could tell that you have a lot more thoughts. I want you to know I am in receipt of your correspondence to city staff, and they are looking into this matter, and we're currently reviewing it. However, the zoning implications, allowable uses, is a bigger conversation, and that is something that planning, when we amend the allowable uses, that's sort of a living document, and it's always adjusting and changing. And I've had some preliminary conversations with planning and zoning staff about uses that are permitted that maybe should be a CUP, maybe some uses that should be permitted that aren't permitted. And so we're always looking to try to dial that in, because of feedback like this, that's very helpful to try to review compatibility of uses in proximity and buffer zones. So appreciate your testimony. I don't know if you intend to leave that.
I'd like to put it on your wall.
Okay.
As a constant reminder. I would, but
Okay. Thanks, Brian. You can take the exhibit with you. If staff wants to take a picture of it or whatnot, I think Mark Stoyer, have you sent that picture to us?
No, that wasn't in the letter. I'm not a very good drone pilot, but I can do better than this.
If you have that picture in a JPEG and you want to send it to us, then we can just add that. Okay.
Is it fair to mention, and I want to stay well within bounds and I want to be respectful, but it just seems like somewhere in there could be a golden rule of planning and approval, that if decision makers wouldn't live next to it, why should they expect other folks to, especially when other folks were there first? Is that fair?
I understand the concern. Again, that's an ongoing review of compatibility of land uses. And I appreciate your feedback, but we're not prepared tonight to have a discussion on that. I would invite you to, next time we go to update the zoning map and allowable uses, which council does approve and own, to provide input at that time and review it. We definitely welcome citizen input when we review that at that time.
And then also to engage, I have some ideas to fix this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but we've gone past the 3 minutes, and it's turning into more dialogue. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but yeah, we're going to move on. But the conversation will continue in another format, and we do invite your input further at that time, and we'll look into this. Thank you. Councilman Hills, did you? No, okay.
Mayor, I think there's a beautiful white space right there on the wall if he wants it. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So I think our final speaker is
Mr. Mayor, yes, it's Melissa Robinson.
All right. Do you have your comments pulled up? Okay.
Yes. Do I have to say my address and name?
Yes.
Over, okay. Melissa Sue Robinson, 15 Fifth Street North, Unit 210 here in Nampa. Okay, and this is entitled The State of Nampa, a Vision for 2026. Good evening, fellow citizens, business leaders, neighbors, Mayor Hogenbaum, and council members. We stand here in 2026 at a defining moment for Nampa. For years, we've watched our skyline change and our population swell. But as we look at the state of our economy today, we see a picture of growing pains. A city that is striving in an opportunity, but feeling the squeeze of its own success. The current economic landscape, today Napa's economy is anchored by a diverse and resilient foundation. We remain a powerhouse in food processing and agribusiness, producing 90% of the world's sweet corn seed, while our manufacturing and tech sectors continue to expand. Our unemployment remains low, hovering around 3.2%, and we've seen a 7.5% decrease in unemployment insurance taxes this year, providing much needed relief for our local businesses. However, we cannot ignore the cliff our city leaders have warned us about. Our 2026 budget requires the use of foregone taxes just to maintain essential services. Our housing market, while stabilizing with a modest 3 to 4% appreciation, remains a barrier for many young families, with median prices in Canyon County still climbing. We are a city that is working, but we are also a city that is straining. Strategies for improvement include to ensure Napa doesn't just grow, but prosper. We must focus on 3 strategic pillars. Number 1, investing in homegrown talent. We must double down on partnerships like those between the College of Western Idaho and local industry leaders. By aligning our Idaho Center for Advanced Technology, ICAT, with the needs of companies like Micron and Amazon, we ensure that the high-paying jobs of tomorrow are filled by the Napa students of today. We need a workforce that is future-ready, particularly in megatronics and healthcare. Number 2, revitalizing the core of our downtown business improvement district is a vital engine. In 2026, we must prioritize the form-based code to streamline redevelopment. By transforming underutilized spaces into mixed-use hubs, we create a live work environment that attracts the creative class and keeps retail dollars right here in Napa rather than flowing out to neighboring cities, Meridian and Boise. Number 3, infrastructure and smart growth. Growth must pay for itself. We need to leverage the North Napa Opportunity Zone to attract private capital into our distressed areas, creating jobs where they are needed most. We must also continue to
Mr. Mayor, time.
Finish your thoughts, yeah.
Advocate for fiscal responsibility at the state level, supporting initiatives like the Enduring Idaho Plan to ensure our schools and roads can keep pace with our population without breaking the backs of our taxpayers. The conclusion, the state of Napa's economy is strong, but it's at a crossroads. We can either be a city that's overwhelmed by its growth or a city that harnesses the growth to build a more stable, affordable, and innovative community. Let us choose to be the city that invests in its people, protects its agricultural roots, and builds a downtown that reflects our pride. The Napa Way has always been about hard work and community. In 2026, let that work lead to us in a new era of prosperity. Thank you, fellow citizens, for listening, City Council, and Mayor Hogenbaum. Good night.
Thank you as well. I appreciate you packing a lot in your time. Thank you.
Okay.
I think that concludes our public forum. And again, there's future opportunities if you want to comment on any item, including items not on the agenda, as was referenced tonight. And do appreciate the citizen input, everything from traffic safety and signage to compatibility of uses and proximity to residential to a shout out to form-based code, Roddy. You got to appreciate that. So that concludes our public forum, which is section 7. So we're going to move to public hearing. We're going to go to item 8.1. And do apologize, we are starting a little past 6, but we're going to make up some time because the first item we are going to, Preston Legal, look to you for some help on this. We want to formally open this item and then look for a motion for continuance. Would you please walk us through that?
Yes, Mayor, I'd be happy to. Yeah, we will open this matter for public hearing and put a placeholder in it. We'll continue it to a date certain. As I understand, that is for Monday, March 16th. And that will be part of the public record. What that means is there won't be a need to republish a notice or incur costs for it. And so it's an efficiency tool that the law allows us to use. With that, what would happen next is to have a member of council make a motion to continue, remember, to a date certain, March 16th. as an action item.
Action. You just never know. Mayor, I move that we continue public hearing 8-1 to a date certain of March 16, 2026.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We will take roll call on this. The clerk?
Skog.
Yes.
Mills. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Pingula.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
All right, very good. So 8-1 is continued to March 16th. And we will move on to item 8-2 at this time, which is a request for variance. And I believe the applicant is present on this item. I'm not going to read all of 8-2, it's there listed, but the applicant, you have 7 minutes to tell us a little bit why you're seeking this variance. So good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is
You can
Cassandra.
bend that down if that's a little, there you go, it's a little flexible there. If you just state your name for the record and your address. And then-
Yes, my name is Cassandra Hernandez, here with my spouse Reyes Hernandez. Our address is 11335 West Flamingo Avenue, Nampa, Idaho. We are here requesting a variance for the property listed at 11373 West Flamingo Avenue, Nampa, Idaho. We are asking for a variance to maximize the lot size in RS6 zone. The property itself right now currently has a deeded home. Therefore, we are looking to update or reconstruct this home. But before we do that, we are respectfully asking that the variance be allowed to maximize the property size. The property itself, the property lines themselves were established prior to many of the current zoning regulations, and as a result, does not conform to today's lot size standards. Strict application of the current requirements would create an unnecessary hardship on us by limiting the ability to improve the property despite the fact that the similar uses and structures already exist in the immediate area. By granting this variance, it would not negatively impact the neighborhood or adjacent properties. It will not impact the road density or traffic patterns either. In fact, it would allow the home to better align with the surrounding area by supporting the needing improvements and enhancing the curb appeal and property value. We request that the requested variance simply allows for us as the property owners to maximize the use of the land. For these reasons, we respectfully request approval of the variance.
Very good. Any additional comments? You still have time? You good? All right. No, that's great. I think you covered it all. So you will have time at the end after we go through the process to come up and provide closing remarks. Okay? So thank you. You can have a seat now and staff will come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Damian Snodgrass, Associate Planner. The requested action item for the night is a variance to the maximum lot size within the RS6 zone. Due to the nature of this application, if the home was just to be renovated, it wouldn't have to go through this process, but demolishing the home and replacing it with a new one, it would have to conform to those standards, hence why the requested application is before. So, history of the project, there was a pre-application meeting held with planning and zoning and the applicant discussing what could be done on the property as it sat. And so with that, it could be subdivided or the existing home could be renovated or going through this process with a variance, potentially doing duplexes or things like that with multifamily. All in all, the applicant decided to go with this today. The property zoning's RS6, around it is RS6, and to the north we have multifamily RML. And within the RS6 zoning district, the required lot size currently is 6,000 to 12,000 square feet. So here are the applicable regulations for variance. We will cover these, and here are the criteria for that. Literal interpretation and enforcement of the regulation would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary physical hardship inconsistent with the objectives of this title, that there are extraordinary site characteristics applicable to the property involved or to the intended use of the property which do not apply generally to other properties classified in the same zoning district, that literal interpretation and enforcement of the regulation would deprive the applicant of privileges enjoyed by the owners of the other properties classified in the same zoning district, The granting of the variance would not constitute a grant of special privilege and consistent with the limitations on the other properties classified in the same zoning district. And the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to public health, safety, welfare, materially injurious to properties or improvement in the vicinity. And here's some more of those applicable regulations just defining that lot size requirement. So for correspondence, we received a couple comments from the Nampa Engineering Division, provided comments that the frontage improvements, this is curb gutter sidewalk, should be improved should this application be accepted, as long as complying with all city codes and policies. Nampa Fire District provided general access and water supply comments regarding this application. Nampa Building Department requires a demo permit if the original structure is to be demolished. Here are the recommended conditions of approval, that they should follow all those city codes and policies, including Title IV, and that the requirements that are imposed by the building department with that demo permit, so this would cover all of those stated. Here are the relevant facts, that the current house is not in conformance with code when it comes to setbacks or lot size, but all new developments, so the addition of a new house would have to meet those current codes and setbacks and things of that nature. The privilege has been granted to others in similar situations. The lots proposed would have to meet all of the building codes. The maximum lot size regulation is required to prevent perpetuating densities, so either densities too high or too low. There's currently a single-family home on the parcel. There's no known traffic identified from this variance, and the variance does not create any known additional safety or health concerns. Here's a potential finding for meeting those criteria. And here are your potential motions. I'll stand for any questions.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Bills.
So is there a mobile home on the property as well?
At this time, not to my knowledge, that'd be a question for the applicant.
Okay. It just appears impossible from the aerial that's in our packet, so that's why I'm asking the question.
To my knowledge, it's just a single stick-built home, and then the property was split in 2019, I believe, where the current applicant exists and the resident right behind it. But the property itself, I believe the house is vacated right now.
Damien, I find it interesting, you usually find these applications of variance to allow higher density, right, to try to put a few more homes on lot sizes that are slightly smaller than our minimum. This is the other end where they want less density. They're basically asking for permission to have a bigger lot than, because we have a maximum sort of not to exceed. Understand that there was already a unit on this existing parcel. Is the policy of the city when you're having to demo and rebuild that you have to get a variance, even if there's sort of a grandfathered arrangement on the unit? I don't know if I'm articulating that right. I just want to understand the process that we're having people go through.
So at the time that the building is demoed, it would be a change of use, and that new structure would have to meet current codes and policies. We do have legal non-conforming instances that would regard in the original structure. We have legal non-conforming applications that can come through the city that if that structure was still there and sound and burnt down, that they could rebuild it as it is. But since they're planning on demoing it, we would want it to meet all of the current codes and policies. And in this instance, it also happens to be the lot size.
Gotcha, thank you. Any other questions from staff or from council for staff?
Mayor.
Yes.
Damien, that multifamily that's to the north, are those duplexes or what is that?
That's a fourplex development. It's DeBella North and DeBella South. It's the one just south of the Home Depot when you go down towards Flamingo. They're all fourplex pinwheels.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
And I need clarification. I live right next to this house. It's a brand new build. So is the house that's going to be going in front of the brand new home? So there'll be two homes on the same parcel? Or are they two separate parcels? So one drive aisle will be for one home and then there'll be a separate entrance?
Councilman Griffin, sorry.
I guess I'll ask when you come back.
You'll either have to formally recognize them back or maybe during the rebuttal phase.
Thank you.
You can ask those questions. Thank you.
Maybe you could give details of what's happening, if it's two separate parcels or not, and give maybe a little background of.
I believe in 2019, the parcel was split, so there is a newer build on the back. There's a flag lot, so there is that access. I can go back to the photo. So currently the applicant, stated by their address, lives on this flag lot. It's just right behind that, but the darkened squares around the parcel in question. So this front house would have to meet the new current codes and standards, and the new build's the one right behind it.
Okay. One follow-up question, if I could, Mayor.
Yes.
Are they using the same drive aisle, or will they be going off to the west? And I'll save it for the applicant if need be.
I'm going to defer to Daniel on whether they will allow them to or not.
Staff can answer this question.
Our discussions have been that it would use the same driveway, is our discussion so far. When they do their building permit, we'll do the official review and see whether they're proposing something different. But from an access standpoint, the discussions we've had would be that they use the new driveway for so yes, the flag lot driveway would provide access to both lots.
Mayor, if I could follow up. Have we gotten permission from the other property owner that is allowable for them to use that driveway?
If I remember correctly, they own both lots at this point.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
For me, I think it could be a significant fight in the future if they sell one property or not the other, and they're sharing the same driveway.
And part of that process in the lot split, I believe there was an easement dedicated to allow for that. If not, then we would require that easement to be in place prior to a certificate of occupancy on the new home.
On the west side rather than on the east. Thank you.
Thank you, staff. Any additional questions? All right. Damien, thank you. I think we'll move now to public testimony. So clerk, is anyone signed up to speak on this?
Mr. Mayor, we have no one that did an advance sign up for public testimony.
Okay, no advance signups. Is there anyone present wishing to speak on this item? Going once, going twice? Okay. All right. So that, usually have a motion to close public testimony before we.
So moved.
Rebuttal.
Sorry.
After the applicant comes back, we close public testimony. Okay, thank you for the reminder on that closing. So this would be time for the applicant to come up and offer any closing remarks and also stand to answer any questions that council might have.
Thank you so much. And if I may, to answer your question, so we are the property owner. We own the property 11335, and we are also the property owners of 11373. We have no intention to sell. If our grandchildren or children in the future, that is their discussion, but as far as our forever plans are, we have no intention of selling. We are aware of the conditions set. We agree with them. We plan on making the curb appeal better. We need to update the home. We want it to be aesthetically pleasing to align with the other homes, the new builds that are coming into the area. So that's very fair, and we agree with that.
Mayor, if I could. You have a beautiful home in the back, by the way, and I'm not going to tell you which direction I'm going to vote, but I'm very in favor of looking at curb appeal improving in this. Are you opposed to having that easement placed on the west side if there is a future date that is needed to be a driveway to allow that as a term of condition upon the variance approval? And would you be okay if we committed that area on the west side to become a drive aisle if in the future it is sold and it's two separate properties owned by two separate owners? Do you have any opposition to an easement placed there?
No opposition.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, Mayor.
Yes.
There's no opposition because you don't want to sell it.
Because we don't plan on selling it.
Okay, I just want to make that point.
And our hopes and dreams are that our children and our grandchildren will also stay with the home. That is the vision that is we have set. But again, that's something that will be out of our control in the future. So on our part, no opposition.
Very good. And for clarification from staff, you had said that as for the COO to be issued, an easement would be required on that existing drive lane. And I think Councilman Griffin's asking if they wouldn't be opposed possibility to an additional easement, but that's just your contemplation. Okay.
And for clarification, if we require the easement be placed on that west side, they don't have to use that as a driveway they can, it just, when it has to be sold, it has to be dedicated, or do they have to conform to knowing that's a driveway, not building a house around that space?
So the driveway would be the east side, the driveway, the concrete driveway they put in with the newer home in the back. That's the driveway that they would utilize. As you look at the configuration of that, you can see where they've bumped it out on the north or on the south side of the lot we're talking about. And so it's really been set up for that use already. It's just a matter of implementing that, and we'll verify that the easement is dedicated so that if in the future it does sell, there's that legal right there and they maintain that use.
So Mayor,
Yes, Councilman.
clarification, the curb cut that is existing off of Flamingo would go away once occupancy or is issued on the new residence.
The existing drive approach on the west side of the property would go away, and they would utilize the driveway on the east of the property.
Because if I'm seeing the map right, there's a drive cut directly from the main street.
There are two drive approaches there currently.
Right.
There is the asphalt approach on the west side of the property. There is the concrete approach on the east side of the property that is part of the flag lot for the newer home that was developed.
Right.
If for some reason they chose to want to utilize the west side, they would have to close the east one. If they are going to continue to use the east one, we would close the west, but they would only, part of the property boundary adjustment was that in the ultimate condition.
Part of what we've put in here is there's going to be one access.
Correct.
To the property.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, for clarification.
Yes.
In my mind, I was thinking there would be a continuing of two accesses, not one that necessarily will get used off the west side, but if that lower property, 11373, was ever sold, that somebody would have a separate access to their property rather than going through the driveway owned by whatever the other house number is.
And that's not what would be contemplated. The easement would be an ingress egress easement in favor of the parcel that we are discussing tonight, so that in perpetuity that would be their access point.
And that's the desire of the applicant, or that's a city requirement?
That is a city requirement based on the access spacing along Midway, or Flamingo, sorry.
And you both are okay with that? Removing that west access?
We understand, yes.
Okay.
That's why I wanted the clarification.
And I think that's why I'm trying to further clarify too, that, and when does that become effective for them?
So we would work at that at the time prior to the certificate of occupancy being issued on the new home on the parcel in question tonight.
So they would still be able to use that west access until they got occupancy in the new home, and then that would be closed off?
Correct. They will be required to install curb gutter sidewalk along that frontage, and so as they do that construction work, that will obviously take out that approach and deal with it that way.
And you're aware of that?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you for standing to answer some questions and offer your closing remarks. Do you have anything final that you want to say before we have you sit down and close the public hearing?
That's all. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mayor, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, public hearing is closed.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the variance as noted on the screen.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the variance as noted on the screen and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all right. We'll take roll call vote on this.
Gog.
Yes.
Chingula.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Bills.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay, thank you to our applicant. Yeah, I hope that your children and grandchildren, you get to see that dream lived out, so, yes. I think we all have that dream. Council, I know we have one more public hearing item. I would also be sensitive if you'd like to take a quick break. I see the clerk nodding. So we're going to, thanks for your patience. We're going to take a quick bathroom break for about 5 minutes, and then we will recommence with item 8.3 on the agenda. All right? So we stand at recess for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Oh, no, yeah, you don't need.
I'm going to verbally gavel us back in order. I do have a physical gavel, but I may use it in the future, but we're good. You're a respectful group, as is council. So at this point, we're going to resume our meeting. Thanks for allowing us a brief recess. The next action item is public hearing 8.3, which is an annexation and zoning request. And I believe the applicant is here, Kylie Kennedy of Cole Architects. Is the applicant present? All right. If the applicant would come forward at this time, you have 7 minutes to present the item before council tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Hogmon and City Council members. Thank you for your consideration of this annexation application this evening. My name is Jeff Hatch. My address is 5119 Briarcrest Drive, Nampa, Idaho 83686. And to some extent, I consider this a cameo presentation. I'm not the applicant, I'm not the architect, but I will be presenting on their behalf.
Got you. Thanks for that clarification, Jeff. Good to see you. Yep.
Here's an aerial of the subject property. We are on Midland and Lake Lowell to the west. The proposed subdivision has 12 buildable lots and a common area. The congregation of the common area is towards the north on the northeast corner. Let's do something. As far as looking at the future land use in this area, we have a medium density residential space, which has a range of the RS zones, which they are proposing one of those. So it does meet with the current future land use map. Here's the zone in this area. We have kind of a range of R6 with some enclave parcels. And then I did pull a couple applications, Millwood, Pines, similar. You have an R4 that was approved adjacent to RS6. This was back in 24. And we have one that has kind of an ocean of RS6 with an RS4 kind of right in between those, just as kind of a comparison. So from a future land use, the RS4 seems amenable, but I will stand for any questions at this time.
Thanks, Jeff, for the presentation. Council, do you have any questions for the applicant's representative?
Mayor?
Yes.
I know previously this application's come before us. Can you explain to us or flesh out what the changes were from the previous hearing to now?
Mayor Hogbone and Commissioner Griffin, since I wasn't privy to that, I don't know a lot about the history of this application, but I do know that it was a higher density that was previously proposed. Based on the feedback of planning and zoning, they have approved this application, recommended approval, and this is of a lower density nature than what was previously proposed.
Hold on, Council. I'd like to ask, and you'll still have time. I think it was mentioned that this came before us before. So it sounds like some council members bring pre-existing experience with this item. I know that there's a new councilwoman, new mayor. I would like legal to just maybe coach us a little bit on the parameters for deliberation guiding this decision.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd be happy to weigh in on that. This might be a little bit of a refresher from our discussion last week. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, and though there have been prior applications, each of those were distinct, separate applications. What's before you tonight is a distinct application with its own set of new facts, materials, and as I say, a new set of four corners. So your discussion, deliberation, and decision tonight must be confined to tonight's materials. Notwithstanding what came before or carryover knowledge, you got to park that judicial restraint and really focus on just what's here tonight. There will be some procedural notes touched on the staff report about that history. That's just for procedural awareness. But for the substance, you got to stick it to the four corners of what's here before you tonight.
Okay, thanks, legal. I think that's helpful, and I didn't intend any disrespect, Councilman Griffin.
I don't take it.
I know that you have some prior familiarity, but as I'm hearing legal, we need to approach this like we're looking at it for the first time. Would that be appropriate, legal, as a framework?
Yeah, that'd be appropriate. The legal term is de novo, and that's how we would treat this. It's a clean slate, if you will.
Okay.
And I apologize, I hadn't realized that you were a whole new applicant. I thought this was a previous project that we had heard and you were bringing it forward with amendments made. So I'll ask you like new questions. Are the lot lines, I don't know how to say, continuous for the property owners to the west as they are on your project? Are the lot lines similar, or are there going to be crossover? I don't know how to say, almost, I don't want to see T intersections, but I can't tell from the packet and the presentation you just gave us. Are the lot lines going through as if they were back-to-back properties adjacent similarly to that of the west? Or are there multiple properties stacked within, so there's two property owners to one compared to who's already there on the west side?
Okay. Thank you, Councilman.
If you can make clarity of that. If I had a whiteboard, I definitely could draw it.
That's fine if you want to take it in phases, but do you understand the question?
Councilmember Griffin, Mayor Hogbaum, the subdivision before you today has a single access. The balance of the subdivisions around us have kind of looped access points because this is an enclave piece of property. So when you have a turn in a road or a meander, those nuances that come with a larger subdivision of, say 100 lots don't have perfectly straight lines. So to answer your question specifically, the lines of this subdivision are set up based on the current code of that RS4 and the current requirements for fire life safety. They don't hold a lot of nuance to the property boundaries to the west. With that said, if that is something of interest to the council, we could certainly look at chamfering or adjusting property lines to a line where they terminate on that westerly boundary. If that's desired, I think that that's something that could be accommodated.
Hey, Mr. Hatch, if it's not too much, I know it's your presentation, do you mind going back to the slide just for a visual reference? Describe that.
That right there.
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Griffin, yeah, do you see the lines just north of that?
That's what I'm
Dark-
trying to confirm.
So those lines right there are the property lines that are adjacent to these. So they'll have like one or two neighbors in the backyards. Do you see that?
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
and I just trying to hear from the applicant if that is a confirmation of what's there.
Kind of hard to see.
Okay, any other questions for the
Mayor?
applicant? Yes. Councilman
Bless
Bills.
you.
So what's the width of the lots? I'm not the only one who couldn't read the document, so.
4150.
Some 41, some 35, what's the width down there through the lots?
Councilmember Bills, I can identify the square footage of the lots, and we know the width of the lots, so I could have that answered to you for deliberation.
Well, we can't read
You'll
the
have a
plat.
closing. The applicant will also have an opportunity to close, so this could be helpful.
Councilman
that you can
Bills.
address. And plus, we have public testimony that he'll also be responding to. Yes, Councilman.
Everything on that western portion is between a range of 41 and a half feet to 40.76.
So basically 40 feet wide all the way down.
Correct, until you get to that northern two properties, and then that's 40 and 40, almost even, 40.17.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Griffin has very good eyes.
I zoomed in on Adobe. I did not see that before.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Because I believe your presentation's concluded and you're staying for questions. And of course, you'll have an opportunity for closing remarks and rebuttal. Okay, if there's no other questions for the applicant's representative at this time, you can have a seat, Mr. Hatch. Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll be back up. And Christy Watkins is providing the staff report on this. Good evening, Christy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. So just for clarity, the action requested from you tonight is for the annexation and zoning to RS4. It is not for a preliminary plat. Okay? That preliminary plat, should you choose to approve this zoning, would then come back later just to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So this may be an opportunity to place some conditions on the annexation. So in this, the comprehensive plan is medium density residential. The property is currently in Canyon County and is zoned R1. In September of 2024, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval for 12 single-family lots and 3 common lots. In December of 2024, City Council denied the annexation and zoning to RS4 for 12 single-family lots and 3 common lots. In November of 2025, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this proposed annexation to RS4 with a development agreement. The northern property is RS6. It is the South Creek subdivision. It is all single-family detached homes. To the south is Lake Lowell Avenue and an RA zoned property that is a large lot, single-family detached home. To the east is RA zoned property, which is also a large lot, single-family detached home. And to the west is RS6, which is also the South Creek subdivision, mainly single-family detached homes. The utilities are available to this property, water, sewer, and irrigation, all right there in Lake Lowell. The preliminary plat will be fully evaluated when it is submitted at a later date, but here's some information about it. The property is enclaved in this area. Therefore, it can be considered to be infill property due to its location, size, and the immediate availability of services. The future land use designation is medium density residential, which has a density of 2.51 to 8 dwelling units per acre. The concept plan for this project proposes 5.82 dwelling units per acre, so it does fall within that range. Lot sizes will be evaluated during the platting process, but shall be required to meet city standards. In the RS4 zone, the minimum lot size is 4,000 square feet and the maximum lot size is 8,000 square feet. This project proposes lots that range from 4707 to 5218. The lot width requirement is 30 feet wide. The smallest lot width in this project is 40.76. A landscape plan will be required at the time of the plat and will need to meet our standards in our codes. After this property dedicates the right-of-way, it will be under 2 acres. So for developments with a gross acreage of 0 to 1.99 acres, it will have to provide at least 5% in qualified open space. This concept plan proposes approximately 7,000 square feet, which is 7.8% open space. So it does exceed the requirement. So for correspondence, I believe that there were many new comments that were received today and were placed on the desk in front of you, some in opposition and some in favor of the project. The ones that we received prior to this meeting and were able to make it into the presentation. Kevin Rushton is in favor, believes our community needs more high-density projects, affordable housing for young people, and projects that maximize the return on our infrastructure. Pam Gowana is opposed due to excessive density and incompatibility, parking, and loss of privacy. Tony Engel is opposed due to high density. Zachary Piper is in support because Nampa needs a diverse range of housing. Smaller lots are well suited to residents seeking lower maintenance living with neighborhood character. Isaac Norby is in support. Nampa needs a diverse range of housing. It will increase the tax base and provide jobs. Jacob Nordby is in support, makes uses of existing infrastructure, provides more housing types, and thinks it is a smart land use. The building department gave their standard comments. If there is any demolition that needs to be done, they will need a demolition permit, and then any new building will have to comply with Title IV building regulations. The engineering division does not oppose this application and provided their standard comments. There will need to be dedication of right-of-way on Lake Lowell Avenue. Frontage improvements will need to go in at the time of the development. There are not enough lots to require a TIS or a traffic impact study at this time. Development is required to address any project triggered impacts not accounted for in our master plan, or if an impact is triggered sooner than planned in our master plan. And the fire district states that this is approximately 2.9 miles from fire station number 6 with a response time of 7 minutes, and would require an increased personnel demand of 0.03 firefighter positions. So for annexation, there are 4 criteria that need to be used in determining the appropriateness of annexation at this time. Number 1, all landowners have consented to this annexation. Number 2, the property is contiguous to the city limits. Number 3, the comprehensive plan does include this area within its area of annexation. And number 4, the property is subject to the city's agreement with the highway district. There are 3 criteria to be used in determining the zoning. The staff findings of fact are listed out in your staff report, but the 3 criteria are that this request is in harmony with the comprehensive plan, because the RS4 zoning is allowed in the medium density residential designation. The proposal would provide for uses that are deemed to be compatible with adjoining properties. RS zoned properties are compatible with RS zoned properties. The proposed zoning is in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary, as the Nampa Comprehensive Plan defines compatibility and infill, and they are both in the same land use designation. They meet the density requirements, and the development standards are compatible to each other, and it will bring the utilities into this, make use of the utilities that are already there, excuse me. These are your recommended conditions of approval as outlined in the engineering memo. And these are the potential motions for annexation to RS4. I will stand for any questions.
Council, yes, Councilman Bills.
Christie, on your list of favorable and unfavorable to this project, did they provide addresses? Are they adjacent to, near this project, or are they elsewhere?
Councilman Bills, I believe that a couple of them did have addresses with them. I did not look them up on the map at the time. I don't know that the ones that were in support were necessarily adjacent, if that helps. Some of them didn't have addresses.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Griffin?
Reason that I think it started. The reason I believe I started nitpicking all the way down to the plat map is because of the language stating allowable 12 units. Is it part of our motion to allow the 12 units, or is our motion simply to allow RS4?
Councilman Griffin, Mayor Hogaboam. So you have a couple different things here. You can use a development agreement, in this case, to place conditions on the preliminary plat as it goes forward. Or you can just annex and zone it RS4 and then have the preliminary plat follow later.
So, and the language is different. This is why I asked the question. What we read off of our agenda and what was on the original screen said RS4 as well as 12 units and 3 common lots. Here it's only talking about annexation and zoning to RS4, but not necessarily talking about the 12 lots. So which is our guiding light?
So, Councilman Griffin, we put the original concept up there just to kind of describe what's being proposed that could go into a development agreement. It isn't necessarily part of your motion. Your legal motion at this point is just the annexation to RS4. The original concept that's listed on the staff report is just to give you an idea of what they are proposing for a concept.
Mayor, one final question. If we wanted to amend our potential motion, would we have to renotice and have a rehearing if we wanted to move in the RS6 direction rather than RS4? So in order to avoid that, could we have a motion that says we limit to 7 lots, or 6 lots, and 4 common lots that are...
Sorry, Mayor. I'm just a little hesitant on this conversation without having public testimony first.
Well, the reason I bring it up now before public testimony is, from my perspective, before even getting to public testimony, I don't think we've met muster on certain elements, but I'm saving that for deliberation. I'm just trying to flesh out questions if we were to approve or deny. I'm not saying I'm going one direction or another. I want to know, before I hear public testimony, what we're even able to decide tonight.
Yeah, you would not be able to change the zoning in your ultimate decision. We'd have to go back through and we'd have to have them resubmit a new application with that request.
But we could allow the zoning with a development agreement capping the amount of lots allowed on the project?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I might, this might be a good time to make a clarification. I'm sorry I didn't do this earlier. This does have a mixture. You do have a quasi-judicial element in the zoning, and Councilman Griffin's question got on that point. You know, could there be amendment? That's for later discussion. The annexation piece, that is that legislative hat, right? That's that you wear. So there's a little more freedom in the standard for an annexation, but there is that mix of the zoning on the back end if it is approved. The principle is still the same. This is a new application, has distinct facts that none of us have heard yet. There's still some testimony probably. Take those in as you bring it in. But to take it as a whole, I would just caution to exercise some restraint, take in the information here tonight as much as anything.
Thanks, Preston. Any other questions for staff?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Jane Giller.
thank you. Chrissy, did you say that the fire response was 7 minutes? Did I hear that right?
Councilman Jangula, that is, yep, what it said.
Thank you. And then am I reading right that the property just to the north of this, number 608, do they have 3 backyard neighbors?
Glasses back on.
What page in the packet? Maybe, Councilwoman Jane Giller?
I just got off of it. Let me go back.
So, Councilwoman Jangula, we will go back to,
Page 349.
On ours, okay.
I think here, there is a property directly to the north that looks like it's kind of in that kind of bulb out there, and it's kind of triangular. So it has a very, very wide backyard fence, and it looks like it probably does line up to 3 of the lots that are on this concept plan.
2 residential, 1 common.
No, it's 3,
It's 3 residential.
isn't it?
That's how I
I
read
guess
it.
you're right. If you zoom
3
way
plus
in,
1.
that lot line does slightly come over. So it would be 4. 3 residential if you count the little baby corner of the northwest lot, the 2 center lots, and then the common lot.
Christy, do we know if they're proposing single family or, sorry, not single level or 2-story on here? Do we know?
Councilwoman Jangula, that has not been discussed at this
I
time.
figured, yeah, thank you.
Just to pause real quick, question for legal. If I'm understanding correctly, the question on zoning is really kind of bound by the applicant's request. I'm hearing questions of staff to try to contemplate sort of the proposed, I don't know if you would call this a plat, and I'm hearing staff say this is not, I know we're really looking at the exhibit and making some opinions based on it. So I'm trying to understand the relevance for the consideration of council on this with those exhibits by the applicant and in the packet. If what we're to consider or not consider Thanks, and thanks to the crowd for me just wanting to ensure, new mayor, just want to make sure that we stay on track. So, yeah.
Make sure this is on. And Rodney and Christy, feel free to chime in as needed on this. What you see here, it's a little bit, I think this has been brought up that, is it a chicken egg? Is it the horse, the cart situation? What has been presented is really just some concept maps for you. It's not a binding plat. It's not the final product. It's more conceptual. What you can get an idea of what it will likely be. And Rodney and Christy, clarify me please, but with the zoning, you got an idea of that base, right? Or the 4,000 square foot. So, you can't get much more creative outside of that. This does have a legislative decision element to it that creates a little flexibility on what you foresee being the product. But just know that there is no final proposed product yet for you.
Gotcha. Very good. Any other questions for staff?
Quick question, Mayor.
Yeah.
So if the plat was flipped, so the drive aisle was on the west side versus the east side, is that in our prerogative? Or no, that's not how it was presented? So we're same as zoning, it's yay or nay to that plat layout?
Mayor, if I might.
I'll defer to
The access point, as we have reviewed it, if they were to put that on the west side of the property, that places it too close to the existing roadway. With the way that they have configured this, it would allow for future infill development of the adjacent property to the east as well, without necessarily needing to add another access point to Lake Lowell. And so that is, as staff has discussed this with them in this and previous applications, utilizing the east side of the property for the drive aisle is what fits within our access management policy, and so would be our recommendation.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Griffin.
To ride on the coattails of that question, then, wouldn't it still be too close to the access with the property to the east? Because there's still drive access for a single home, not necessarily a neighborhood, but.
And when we look at infill developments, we are looking at not necessarily today's condition, but longer term in that ultimate condition. There is a difference for us when we look at, separation from a single family home, single driveway versus a roadway that has much more traffic coming out of it. And so that, yes, there are spacing issues either way. But this is, from an access management standpoint, this is the preferred alignment for the city staff and our policies.
One follow-up, if I
Yes.
could. So if we're setting the precedent now on this project, will all future projects that potentially get annexed into the city be all putting their access points to the eastern portion of their property lines if they choose that RA?
So those properties are already annexed, and as they come in, we will have to evaluate what they are requesting to do to determine what is the most logical and best access situation. By placing this, if approved, by placing the access on the east side of this property, it allows for potential to utilize that for those properties to the east of it as well, and limit the number of new approaches we would be looking at.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. I'm hearing no other questions for staff at this time. All right.
Mayor.
Thanks, Christy.
Thank you.
Oh,
May I have a point of clarification?
yes.
For
Can you
Councilwoman
just
Django's
identify
question?
yourself for the record? Thank
Sorry, Elijah with the Napa Fire Department, Deputy Fire Marshal. The response time that you have on there is the old response time from Station 2, 2.9 miles, 7 minutes. What I neglected to give Christy, it was the updated time, which would be from Station 6, which is 3 minutes, 1 mile.
I like
So-
that better. Thank you.
Thank you so much for pointing that out,
Appreciate that.
because certainly that's a factual matter that needs to be clarified on the record. I was intuitively thinking, I was like, I hope Station 6 is dispatching closer.
The traffic's gotten out of control, Mayor. 7 minutes, 1 mile.
That is always a true variable, yes. All right. Well, at this time, we are going to move to public testimony, and the clerk has notified me that we have 12 members signed up to speak. You'll be given 3 minutes each. When the clerk says time, some of you saw earlier, allow some generosity to kind of finalize the thought if you're mid-thought. It's not to carry on with multiple sentences in the paragraph. I hate to be literal on that, but I just want to respect, we're trying to provide an equitable framework so the public testimony is treated fairly for each member of the public. When you come up, state your name, your address. We will start the clock after you state those items. So go to the clerk now to assemble the public testimony at this time. So who's first?
Mr. Mayor, our first speaker is Rafi Kasarjian, and on deck is Jessica Selko and Sherman Williams.
All right. So if those who's on deck and in the hole, if you want to stand or just be ready to pounce once the testimony is done, so we can move efficiently through. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
All right. State your name
By the way,
and
great
address.
job with the last name. It was really good. My name is Rafi Kasarjian. I live at 821 South Cove Lane in Nampa, right across the street. I want to start off by saying that we are not against growth. We are against growth that is incompatible, unsafe, and not in line with the character of our neighborhood. So one of the biggest things is traffic. Lake Lowell Avenue is already heavily burdened. Residents struggle daily to exit driveways and side streets. This is documented, lived reality. This proposal funnels all the cars through one single access point onto the congested road. Even with on-site parking, we all know how high-density developments function in the valley. Overflow parking will always spill into the streets. Narrowing lanes, blocking sight lines, slowing traffic, and creating real safety hazards. Approving additional density here will make an already difficult road even more dangerous for those who live and travel in this area. There are 8 existing single-family homes on the west side of this property, all on generous lots that match the established pattern of the entire surrounding neighborhood. This proposed layout is not proportional to that pattern. It introduces a density level that is simply not fit for the area. Compatibility is not a matter of opinion, it's a planning requirement, and this design does not meet it. Last time this project came before you, council directed the developer to meaningfully increase lot sizes. Instead, the developer shifted the fence forward, eliminated roadside parking, and rearranged the same number of units in the same tight footprint. This was compliance on paper, but not in practice. Meaningful compatibility requires either reducing overall density or expanding usable lot space, not cosmetic adjustments. This is now the 3rd or 4th attempt, each time with only superficial changes. The builder has consistently ignored neighborhood concerns and the intent of your previous direction. The truth of the matter is that the developer will build the units, sell them for a profit, and never return to this part of town. And we as the residents will live with the traffic, congestion, parking overflow, and long-term decline in neighborhood cohesion. During the planning and zoning discussion, affordable housing was brought up repeatedly. This is an emotional argument, not a factual land use justification. A standard 1,200 to 1,400 square foot home in Nampa is selling for around $350,000 today. Regardless of this project calling these units affordable, doesn't make them affordable. Nampa routinely requires new construction to match and complement surrounding homes. Approving this project would do the exact opposite of it. It would insert an incompatible design to a neighborhood where it simply doesn't fit. We're not saying don't build. We're just saying build consistent with a neighborhood that's already there. For these reasons, I do respectfully urge you to deny this proposal once and for all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Under time. That's impressive. Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Mayor, our next speaker is Jessica Selko, and on deck is Sherman Williams and Suzanne Roberts.
I'm Jessica Selko. I live at 1409 Lake Lowell Avenue. My house is directly across the street in that green RA square. I totally agree with everything Rafi just said. He did that very eloquently, and I'm not going to do so well. So I do everything. Everything he said makes complete sense and is truthful. The part of the truth is that I've owned my house for 10 years, bought the house when there was horses across the street. The old lady and husband lived there. She had a cute little flower garden in the front, and the horses out, grazed off the land that the Gordon would go and open the irrigation and flood irrigation, and that's what I looked at. And I honestly don't want to look at 12 houses across the street. It doesn't fit. If you look around, everything's RA and RS6. And even RS6 being the smallest, the minimum lot size is 6,500 square feet. My parents own a piece of property in Nampa, just a few streets over, that's 956 square foot home on 6,500 square foot. Today's value on Zillow is $297,000. I did the math, 30 years with today's interest rates. Break it all down, you'd have to make $85,000 a year to make the 28% mortgage rate, like to make it, to be able to pay for it. I can't do that on my income as a single income. It's not affordable. And that's really what it boils down to. It's not affordable. And I mean, there's a lot of things that come into play with this project, but it's not compatible. It's not affordable. That just needs to be taken off the table. It doesn't make sense. And my time's not going, so this is really distracting me. I don't know how much longer I have.
You got a minute.
It's not going?
You got a minute.
But
If you want.
part of what planning and zoning's for this project, this whatever being submitted, planning and zoning, I listened to it today. I went back and listened to the meeting from November, and every one of them said yes. They all were voting yes. None of them liked it, though. They voted yes because it's infill, period. And I understand that you want to, continue to fill in what we have here and not grow outside city limits and that kind of thing, but this is not a good infill project for this neighborhood. Maybe in other areas, great, but this project that's being proposed is not, it's not suitable. And the distaste that was left in one of the planning and zoning members' comments was that the current owner, who's been the owner for 4 years, he has neglected the property. He called it neglected. Well, he's neglected it. The only time he's been out there to do anything on any of the land at all is the week before coming in front of you guys or coming in front of planning and zoning. I watch it. I watch it every day, and nothing happens over there. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jessica.
Mr. Mayor, we're going to have IT take a quick look at the clock because it was working earlier.
They're gentlemen right there. We want to make sure that, just so you know, we want to make sure that you can see the time as it ticks down. So you can.
How much time did you say you had, 20 minutes? No, 3. Oh, come on. I guess I don't need that.
You pack 20 minutes into 3.
I don't need to because the first guy did it for me. So,
This is also a reminder, if you have the legal right to use your 3 minutes to say exactly what was said previously, but don't feel the pressure to have to speak. I'm not discouraging you to speak, but if you just want to say, I stand in agreement with what's previously said and note your opposition or support for the project, that's an option that you have as well. Okay. So, all right.
My name is Sherman Williams. I live at 702 Spruce Creek Drive. My back lot, my back property butts up against the east or the west side of this property. And to Councilman Griffin's questions earlier, either my property or the property next to me will have 3 neighbors on their back line. So I'll go from 1 to 3 neighbors to have to deal with. I agree with everything that the first gentleman said, and as well as the young lady that spoke before me. A couple of things I'd like to talk about before I sit down is that the neglecting is, ever since they've turned off, he hasn't irrigated, we have trees that are dying on both sides of the property. And the improvement, one of the improvements that he did was after the neighbor on the east had tree limbs fall, dead tree limbs fall on their vehicles, I guess. He went down there and trimmed up a couple of trees. But it is just in horrible neglect. So I'm going to tell you this.
I am for the annexation, only so we can hold him accountable to clean it up. But I'm against the construction of anything more than 8 homes. And I think on a previous council meeting or planning and zoning meeting, there was a recommendation that we probably would approve it. I know most of us would approve it. I think all of us would approve it if they would approve it with 8 homes, just like the 8 homes that are on Spruce Creek Drive. And that way they would match up density-wise. So I would approve, I would agree with annexation, but not with this many homes. 2 other things what I say about the neglect. The bug infestation is off the scale from all of these trees that are dying. I cannot enjoy anything in my backyard anymore because there's so many elm seed bugs from these trees they're actually in my home now. The trees are dying. I think I mentioned that. I'd say approve it with a maximum number of homes that Councilman Griffman kind of talked about. But second thing is, the city should just buy it and make it a park. Nice for the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Appreciate your comments.
Mr. Mayor, our next speaker is Suzanne Roberts, and on deck is Craig Everett and Sandy Dashiell.
Hey, good evening.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Roberts, and I live at 5383 South Farmhouse Place in Boise. And I'm here for a different view of this project. I see it's really emotional, and I understand that. I own a commercial retail business group in Nampa, and my husband and I have had a history of operating small businesses in Nampa for over 50 years. And I see the whole need today is for affordable housing, and everybody is saying this can't be affordable housing. The reality is it's going to be as low as you can make it. And when you have services already in and can build a house for less, it directly equates to a lower price home and more affordability. And I think the whole strength of the business community and the residential community are all part of the picture. And you can't have a strong small business community without having more density and more infill building in places like this. And I think to keep the integrity of our business community, to keep small businesses healthy, we need more density than probably we would like. And for that reason, I'm in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Question?
Suzanne, Ms. Roberts, Councilman Bills has a question.
Pardon?
Question for
Councilman
you.
Bills has a question.
So you live in Boise
I do.
and you have a business in Nampa.
Right.
How did you learn about this annexation request?
I am familiar with one of the young men that owns the property
Okay.
and learned about it that way.
So you have no direct involvement in the property
No.
or what takes place here?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, our next speaker is Craig Everett, and on deck is Sandy Dashiell and Joe Morrow.
All right, if you don't mind, I sometimes need to stand a little bit to let my back get realigned.
I don't mind.
State your name for the record, your address, and then your time will start.
My name is Craig Everett, 11871 Crested View Court in Nampa. I think this is a modest proposal to increase from 8 to 12 houses. It'll allow the developer to get rid of that eyesore that is really horrific. When you drive down Lake Lowell, it's the worst looking plat in the city. And allowing him 12 houses does make it more likely that they will be more affordable. And I have a similar property that I'll be wanting to rezone, and will expect that a rational amount of property, slightly more dense, is better than letting it sit as it is. That's everything.
Well, thank you, Mr. Everett. Appreciate your comments tonight. I think,
Mr. Mayor, our next person is Sandy Dashiell, and on deck is Joe Morrow and Catherine Olong.
Good evening, excuse me, good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Sandy Dashiell. I live at 718 South Bonneville Drive. I am against the high-density housing proposal. I would be in favor of 8 housing units with an extra 12 on-street parking spots. This development does not comply with the Napa 2040 Comprehensive Plan. City Council previously stated that 12 housing units was not compatible with the surrounding subdivision or the RA lots in RS 6, which are next to the property. This development has 5.83 dwelling units per acre, and the comprehensive plan states that any development over 5 dwelling units per acre should be a planned unit development or part of a master planned community. The developer has not listened to any of the neighbors. We are all here speaking tonight because we are the neighbors of this property. We are your Nampa residents. Your decision affects us. We feel like the developer is trying to shoehorn this to fit, trying to optimize profits over compatibility with the surrounding homeowners. Thank you.
thank you. Quick question for legal. Am I allowed to ask a question of staff at this time, or should I reserve that? It's in response to the comments.
Yeah, I would ask, I think it's fair to ask staff right now if it's directly responsive to a citizen's comment.
Okay. I just want to make sure there were some references to specific plans in the city. I just want to make sure that those statements are accurate. If there's some nuance that needs to be stated on the record, I certainly want to make sure that there's appropriate time to. Staff doesn't necessarily, I mean, we could, of course, ask staff after all the public testimony, but since in real time, it's kind of fresh. I would ask that, I think the 2040 plan was referenced and some other details.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Rodney Ashby, Planning and Zoning Director, for the record. This is a hard topic. When someone says that something does or doesn't match the comprehensive plan, there's lots of aspects to the comprehensive plan we have to consider. First of all, the future land use map is kind of the biggest teeth, the most teeth we have in the comprehensive plan. And the zoning fits within the comprehensive plan designation of medium density residential. So I can say with very clearly that the zone matches the comprehensive plan's future land use map designation. Future land use map designations are used to try to create compatibility. So we don't have an RS4 and an RS22 in the same designation on the comprehensive plan future land use map. But we do have RS4, RS6, and RS7, and even RS8.5 that are within a kind of a range that all kind of fit together within that range. So the medium density residential designation is intended to create some compatibility just in of itself. What zones are allowed in the medium density residential designation? The rest of the comprehensive plan is narrative, right? And so when we talk about compatibility, there's lots of different ways you can achieve compatibility. But compatibility, as I've clarified before, doesn't necessarily mean sameness. It means that it has the ability to be next to it and complement the other land uses in the area. That's kind of my own words, but I just want to make clear that the comprehensive plan provides lots of different ways: landscaping, lot shape, lot size, architectural features, height. There are lots of things that can be done to create compatibility. So I can't necessarily disagree with the people saying that it's not compatible, but that's a subjective decision that you have to weigh out in all that narrative in the comprehensive plan.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. I certainly wasn't trying to invite preferences on the issue. That's subjective. It was mostly the reference to specific data points within the comp plan. So, all right. Next up. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good. My name is Joe Morrow. My address is 1500 Lake Lowell Avenue. I live two homes down the street, and I'm concerned with the lot size and the impact of the overflow of the residents' cars, trucks, and trailers parking outside of this development, which would overflow onto Lake Lowell and into the neighboring subdivision, the road Spruce Creek. We all know that with these infill projects that you guys have approved in the apartment complexes, we always see that there's never enough parking, and the parking ends out on other streets. This type of overflow parking impacts the neighbors with new congestion and interferes with the driver's sight lines of entering and exiting our streets. I'm against the lot density, specifically the lot width and buildability on these narrow lots. What kind of house can you really build on this width of a lot? These lots are about as wide as this desk that you're sitting behind. I'm concerned you can't build a quality two-car garage home, which is going to force more parking along both sides of my property. Just because the lot meets a minimum square footage doesn't mean they can build a quality two-car garage home that will fit this narrowness. The last developer proposal by a proven and sound builder, Blake Wolf, was denied by City Council because the City Council felt that the narrow 12 dwellings was not compatible with the adjacent properties, which are R6 or bigger. With tonight's development proposal, they've only increased the lot size of before by 12% that they're claiming, and this is due to smaller grass spaces, a tighter fire turnaround at the end, and have eliminated all the street parking from the previous development proposal. This development proposal does not match up with the surrounding subs, and they're trying to cram too many homes onto this property. We would be happy with 8 lots. Again, there will not be enough parking, and the overflow is going to end up in my subdivision. My last point, I have a question for City Council, is on Lot 9, the corner lot at the turnaround, will this meet the legal setback because of the road on the side of the lot?
Thank you, Mr. Morrow, for your comments. Would council like clarification to the testifier's question? Staff, would you provide a response to that when maybe after? We'll try to conclude public testimony and then just keep kind of a tally of some of the items that have brought up. And then, of course, the applicant will have rebuttal.
Can we confirm that that was the correct lot that they were trying to reference to? Lot 9's in the center of the project, not necessarily at that end, Stubb Street. Which one are you talking about?
And could you come up, please? Thank you. Just so we can get your voice clearly.
I mean, I can't read the print, but it's the last lot on the left of all the ones that are stacked from Lake Lowell. Yeah, that one right there. What lot number is that?
10.
10. So with the road on the side, doesn't the setback now need to be 10 feet, 5? It's not 5 feet on a road, I believe, on the side of a house. I think Victor Rodriguez brought this up last time.
Okay.
to understand the question, Mayor, and maybe clarify, you're concerned about lots 10 meeting the 5-foot setback, or if it's set to a 10-foot setback because it's next to a road? Okay.
Yeah, I think, did you nod in agreement? Does he understand? Okay, I think we're good. Actually,
There's also
Councilman Bills.
the long skinny one there at the end of the T-head running north-south. There's going to be at least a 10 or a 12-foot setback along the west boundary, yes, no, for utilities or anything? Allowed to go down to 5 feet? Okay, that's a change for,
Yes, we have removed the requirement for a 12-foot boundary easement. That is no longer in our codes and policies.
thank you for the clarification. Brushing out the cobwebs.
All right, thank you. Next member of the public to testify.
Mr. Mayor, our next speaker is Catherine Olong, and on deck is Pam Gaona and Lisa LaFleur.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. For clarification, my last name is Long, not Olong. I don't know how that got misconstrued.
Apologies, it was an unintended.
I'm sorry,
reference.
and
Yeah.
what was the spelling of that?
Long.
Okay, so yeah, they accidentally did that.
They added
We
an O in
apologize.
front.
Stuff happens. It's okay.
Okay.
My name is Catherine Long. I live at 640 Spruce Creek Drive in Nampa. My backyard butts up on the west side of the property. Can I go now? I'm already going. Members of the City Council, Mr. Mayor, thank you for hearing me speak this evening. I believe that this proposed property will help our neighborhood grow responsibly. I think there's a lot of emotional rebuttals going on here, and I think it should be looked at more as a community as well as neighborhood. I think it'll help our community grow responsibly. I think it's going to bring in well-designed, hopefully, housing rather than leaving the land underused, and as it is. I think it supports entry-level homeownership in the area, which helps younger families, local workers, and longtime community members to stay in Nampa. I believe that Nampa does need a little more higher density properties to accommodate those people. I think that the property will create local jobs in construction, trades, ongoing maintenance from start to finish, and it'll help keep economic activity in our community. I think the additional housing units increase the city's property tax base, which means more revenue for schools, parks, roads. I think the rezoning will also fill a housing gap in Nampa, which making a good mix of lot sizes under RS4 helps meet demand for smaller lots and manageable yards, which some buyers are looking for. Because the site's near existing infrastructure, the impact, you guys already know that. It's better because it is, everything's to the property. The developer's plan, to me, shows a thoughtful design, adequate buffering, landscaping, and compatibility with existing homes in the area. This shows the rezoning is well considered and will maintain neighborhood character. That's my opinion. As a resident, I believe that a successful project will strengthen the community ties, encourage new families to move in, and support local schools, keep our neighborhood vibrant. I support this rezoning because I want to see Nampa grow in ways that are sustainable, neighborhood friendly, and inclusive. And this project, to me, aligns with those goals. For these reasons, I respectfully ask that you approve the annexation and the rezoning to RS4. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Mr. Mayor, our next speaker is Pam Gaona, and on deck is Lisa LaFleur and Tim LaFleur.
Hi, my name is Pam Gaona. I live at 632 Spruce Creek Drive, and my property directly abuts the proposed subdivision. So very near and dear to us and personal. Sounds like most of my neighbors covered most of the points that I wanted to cover. Talking about the density, we do feel like 12 houses back there is too many. We're also very concerned about the parking, so I want to echo those concerns because a lot of the infill ends up being overflow parking into the neighborhoods, and we are concerned about that. And then this is already touched on, but I want to restate that beyond that site plan, I have significant concerns regarding the property stewardship. For years, this site has been neglected, suffering from lack of irrigation, unchecked weed growth. We watch mature trees die, becoming standing hazards to the neighboring homes. I've lived in my house for 27 years, so we've been there for a really long time. And the previous owner, they irrigated it and took care of it, and they would graze horses and cows and whatever to keep the weeds down. So that's kind of where we're coming from. That's what we had behind us for a lot of years. And I guess what I'm worried about now is that what we've seen so far from this homeowner is that he's reactive rather than proactive. It's been a red flag for us. We're being asked to trust a high-density project to a developer who's not yet demonstrated basic responsibility of maintaining an empty field. Most likely the houses are going to be two-story houses directly on our property lines, giving some of us 2 or 3 new backyard neighbors at once. And this requires a high level of trust from a developer that I don't think is earned by this developer. So I guess I'd really hope that we stick with the original ruling that 8 or 9 houses is more appropriate on this land than 12. So yeah, that's what I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, our next speaker is Lisa LaFleur, and on deck is Tim LaFleur and Cyril Gaona.
Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
My name is Lisa LaFleur, and I live at 626 Spruce Creek Drive. The last time this was brought to City Council, it was denied due to density and incompatibility. We keep bringing that up. We know you're not supposed to legally kind of pay attention to that, but Matt has owned the property the entire time since 1922. So we feel that every single thing that has come up for approval, he's known about it. The builder was told by the council that they wanted 8 or 9 homes rather than 12. During the P&Z meeting in November, Matt was asked why he had come back with the same amount as had been proposed before. And he said that council said to make the lot sizes bigger. So rather than reducing the number of houses as requested, he made the lots bigger by narrowing one of the common green spaces, as well as the fire turnaround lane and interior roadway, which eliminated the east side parking lane. He also said he was trying to match what is currently there, and that there was an apartment right down the way, which there is not. So that was weird. Providing affordable housing has been a recent selling point for this proposal, but in order to have affordable housing, the builders have to actually offer affordable prices. We have no guarantee that these homes will be listed as affordable prices, or that any out-of-city money will come in and scoop them all up, offering more money than most Nampans can afford. During the November 12th P&Z meeting, 2 members voiced their concern about this very thing. One member said he didn't have faith that it would go any further than their approval, meaning the promise of affordable housing. Another member actually said he was not in favor of this build, but that he would vote it through, and he did. It's not compatible with connecting neighborhoods or anything else in the area for that matter. And I think it's going to be suffocating having all those houses kind of crammed in that little spot. We've had 25 people attend the last on-site meeting on July 7th. Everyone was opposed to the build. And in fact, every time we've had an on-site meeting, we've not had less than 20 people from the neighborhood to oppose this. Most people who are for the build, except for beautiful Miss Kathy here, do not live near the project or in Nampa at all. They seem to be realtors, contractors, or builders connected with Matt somehow. Or Tyler Tyler Roberts as well. There was a couple there at, oh wait, so during the last meeting, Matt threatened to put a pig farm on the property if we did not give him support. He did that twice during that meeting. There was a couple that was there at the last meeting and they asked if the property owner was there and Matt shrugged, acting like he didn't know who the owner was. He's not been a considerate neighbor up to this point, and it raises concerns on what type of builder he would be. Some of us has lived in this property for 20 years or more. We've raised our children and are now welcoming grandchildren. We've survived snowmageddons, 2 drug houses, a random car fire, an insane mouse infestation.
Mr. Mayor, time.
You finish maybe a couple sentences.
Okay, it's just real quick. When the fields around us were developed, we share our garden harvests and help shovel our driveways in the snow. We're there for each other for the good times and the not so good times. This is our home and we will be there for many years to come. And I'm humbly asking you to oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Yes, Councilman Rodriguez.
Lisa LaFleur, I talk very low.
Lisa? Is it McClure?
LAFLEUR.
Oh, LaFleur. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Just a point of clarification, Mayor, does Tim LaFleur want to speak?
I'll just briefly.
Okay.
I'm not going to take up more than 30 seconds. I just had a question.
Can
you
Timothy
state your name?
LaFleur,
Yes.
626 Spruce Creek Drive. What does P&Z allow for the houses, for the easement, for the back of these houses to the fence line? What does the easement have to be for these houses? Does anybody know?
Easement? What does the easement have to be?
Yeah, how close can they build a house to the fence line? Offset.
Back is 15 feet in the rear.
So they can build, so these, all the houses on Spruce Creek Drive have probably a 30-foot backyard. So now they're going to have a neighbor, maybe 3 neighbors, 15 feet, 2-story house looking into their backyard. So that's one of my concerns. I like to say I just agree with everything that everybody has said, and that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. LaFleur.
And I oppose it. Just for the record.
For the record.
Mr. Mayor, our last speaker is Ciro Gaona.
Mayor and council members, my name is Ciro Gaona, live at 632 Spruce Creek Drive, Nampa. I oppose this development. I agree with all my neighbors who oppose, and especially my wife, since she's my boss, and I'm done. Thank you.
Mr. Gaona, thank you for your brief comments. You could have taken the 3 minutes, I still want to thank you, so I don't mean to sound like, thanks for being short. I think that concludes those who signed up in advance. And at this time, this would be a final call if there's any members in the public who would like to testify who aren't signed up. And I see one hand going up. So sir, if you would come forward, identify yourself with your address, and then your 3-minute clock will start. So start with your name and your address.
Sure, thank you. My name's Steve Robb, and I live at 1723 Lake Lowell Avenue, just a few houses down the street. I'd like to say that I'm against the development as currently proposed or the annexation. I concur with the City Council's prior rejection when you recommended that the property should only contain 6 to 8 homes. I'd like to make the following points. I believe RS4 is out of character for this area. Most of the neighbor homes are RS6 and several RA parcels close in proximity. In fact, when reviewing a broader mile-plus radius around this area, I did not see a single RS4 zoned property within that area whatsoever. Next point, under the proposed design, with a very compact layout of many thin lots and a narrow road with parking only on one side with a lot of driveways, I'm very concerned about the lack of parking in general, and especially in 2 cases. First, whenever there's any family gatherings and there's several visitors trying to arrive, there's just not adequate space to absorb vehicles other than who lives there. And secondarily, when anyone has a trade vehicle or their pickup truck and a trailer behind it, that's not compatible with the way these parcels are all laid out. It's not going to fit, and I'm concerned that that's just going to roll out of the development and spill over into the adjacent neighborhoods and side streets and on Lake Law Avenue. During the recent planning meeting that approved this project, while several members on the board voiced similar concerns that it was too dense, others expressed the very strong desire to have the real necessity of approving the maximum density possible because we need more housing and we need cheaper housing. This doesn't make the housing cheaper, more affordable. It squeezes more in. And that seemed to win out over whether this project fits the character of the local neighborhood. And the drive for we need more housing won out in the mantra in that vote. In conclusion, as a local neighbor, I'm not against developing this parcel. However, I believe RS6 zoning for 6 or 7 houses on this parcel would be a correct size, not the proposed RS4 zoning. And given the high density that they're designing and the very minor tweaks that they made from version to version, that if this gets approved at RS4, we're going to get the original plan rammed down our throat again. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Robb. All right, was there anybody else present that also wished to testify? Yes, sir. Good evening. State your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Lee Fisher. I own the property right across from the southern part, next to the RA, next to this lady right here.
We just state the address, please.
Sorry. Lee Fisher, 1512 West Bird Loop. Once again, I live behind this lady right here. Already, we get a lot of traffic and a lot of blinding lights in our bedroom, which we line up with Lone Star. I couldn't imagine what it's like if we had 12 neighbors move right there. On top of that, my son crosses that road daily, and it's already sort of a hazard for him. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to increase that, because truthfully, we don't know what it would be coming and going out of that area down Lone Star. And once again, I think it'd be a hazard, not only trying to get a fire truck to come in and out, but where's everybody gonna park? All right, I think that's all. And I oppose this and agree with everybody here.
Excuse me, Mayor.
There's a question for you. Councilman Rodriguez.
Would you state your address again, please?
1512 West Bird Loop.
Oh, okay, thank you.
My property's right there.
Okay, thank you for that, yeah.
All right, anybody else who would like to testify on this matter? Okay, I am not seeing any additional public testimony, so we will at this time invite the applicant representative to come up, and you will have 5 minutes at this time to make closing remarks.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
I think you put a note in whether there be more comments flagged for staff to answer. Was there anything else that we need to put out there for the applicant to consider? If not, just wanted to follow up on that.
Yeah, Leo, I think when I had previously mentioned to keep tally, I think there was immediate response on that one item, because I think Councilman Bills had also asked for some clarification. But definitely, I think after the applicant's closing remarks, if there's any pending, outstanding questions, of course, council has, and then maybe we'll circle back to staff. Rodney, do you have something before we go to?
Mr. Mayor, the only other thing that I noted was the PUD comment about requiring a PUD at this size of a lot. I just want to clarify, there's no requirement in code that they would have to do a PUD here.
Yeah. And then I know there's a comment earlier, I think there's some level of slight subjectivity to it, but there are setback requirements. So while it might feel like the property is literally on the property line, there are some setback requirements. And certainly there's opinions whether those setback requirements are sufficient, especially if there's a two-story building next to a single story and whatnot. I do want to make sure that we're not contemplating a house being built literally on the property line. Literally, okay, so, all right. All right, Mr. Hatch, the floor is yours.
Mayor Hogebon and council members, thank you again for your consideration of this annexation application. Christy, do you have that slide? Thank you. We heard considerations of concern for parking. I think that that's something that the DA and the CNRs for this subdivision could address. There was also concern for lot size, which we do currently have a 2% open space that is in excess that could be adjusted back into the lot sizes themselves. I think the overarching consideration were kind of two comments that came from most of the neighbors, which was the concern for compatibility and affordable housing or mixed income. And it reminds me of growing up with a friend who lived in the Heartland subdivision, which is directly southeast across the street, right here. That subdivision came in at these large acre lots, really big fancy houses. And then we have the lower density or higher density that came in on the east, which to the concern of Commissioner Jangla ended up being about 2 to 3 lots adjacent to one lot in that subdivision. And as you carry south, it actually intensifies on the south side of that subdivision to about a minimum of 3 lots to 1 lot on that Heartland subdivision. So growing up, I had a friend who lived in this big lot subdivision. We used to go over there because they didn't put in fences yet, so you can play soccer and baseball. And then they started building a subdivision off to the east, and we were like, wow, that is like really, really dense compared to this larger lot subdivision that's directly adjacent to us. What came to pass is that a lot of our friends lived in that subdivision. First Church actually kind of stemmed off and had a pastor that lived in that subdivision. And so that mixed income density of this neighborhood, they're all RS zoned properties, is part of Nampa, and that's part of the uniqueness of Nampa. So I feel that the compatibility is subjective, as Rodney mentioned, but it's definitely a consideration. Lastly, there was a range of property considerations of potential neglect to the property itself. And I think the fact that the applicant isn't here, the applicant's architect is sick, and I'm here as kind of a fill-in for that, really makes me feel like it would be appropriate if this commission would deem it necessary to have a consideration to take these comments from the neighbors, table this layout, which the neighbors mentioned hasn't changed much. I see that there's a great deal of opportunity, especially with Councilmember Jangla's concern and consideration for the property to the north. We have a little bit of movement for our common area and a discussion on the density that they currently have to come back with something that hopefully the neighbors, if not the city, can support in a more fashionable manner. And so with that, if the council would consider it, I would propose tabling this so I can bring this information back to the owner and his architect and make sure that they clearly understand the expectation and concerns brought forth tonight.
I have a question, Mr. Hatch, just for clarification. Is the request to continue or to, I'm trying to understand what's being requested as far as tabling. What sort of action are you contemplating when you say if this would be tabled so that you can maybe go to the owner to address these issues? Maybe legal could help too. What would a tabling literally require
Yeah.
from council's contemplation.
Mayor, thank you. If there's a desire to table this, what you would say is you'd want to have this continued for deliberation to a date certain. Where we're in rebuttal time right now, if I heard you right, Mr. Hatch, you would like to take some of this information to the applicant and their representative. What you could do, Mayor, is have the applicant representative return at a date certain to respond to these questions as a rebuttal continuation. If there's new information that they seek to bring forward, we would want to open that opportunity up for the public to weigh in on it at this point. It gets a little complicated at this stage.
Yes, the potential complication, I certainly want, from a due process standpoint, to afford all the rights to the applicant as well as to the public to weigh in. I think what legal is saying about potentially tabling going to the applicant when there's a couple of minutes left in your rebuttal time and we're about to wrap this thing to continue to a future date. I don't know what the legal parameters are about allowing the applicant some additional time to address us in person within the rebuttal. Would it still be the rebuttal phase? And then if there's new information presented, like at what point does it reach a threshold where it's just triggering for all of public testimony to restart again? So I'm just concerned if we're flirting with that potential line, or what the cleanest way of proceeding based on Mr. Hatch's request of allowing the applicant some opportunity to digest this. I know it's unfortunate they're not here. It sounds like there's sickness involved, but we've already progressed to we're nearing the finish line on this public hearing, and I just want to make sure we contemplate the options. So, Rodney, do you have any?
Really, I'd look to Preston for clarity here, but I just in general, you can put conditions on a project like this at this moment you can't add more units, you can't change the zone or anything like that, but you could say, hey, we don't want to see any more than this number of units, or hey, we want to see this size of lot. You could put those as conditions right now, and I'm going to defer to Preston on this, but so I would think that you could continue this decision and the rebuttal and give them the opportunity to come back based on the comments they heard saying, here's what we'd be willing to put into a development agreement. And then that would come back in a decision by council to approve that development agreement.
Rodney, legal. What I'm hearing you say, though, that I'm trying to understand is that the applicant would be responding to some sort of guidance from council, which I think you're envisioning would occur after Mr. Hatch sits down and we deliberate to some extent. So the concern I have is, are we deliberating to provide guidance as opposed to, certainly if council wants to make a motion, there's no obligation to accommodate the request that's being asked. I'm just trying to understand the legal framework in which council may even consider options based on what Mr. Hatch is requesting.
And if it's all right, maybe I'll try to attempt this, and if that answers some questions you might have right now. You have a few options. It's not uncommon for an applicant, based off input, to say, look, we're receiving new information here. We would like to come back to you addressing that with more time to digest it. If you wanted to keep it really tight and almost hit a pause button right now, you could have that come back at rebuttal. They would be limited, though, to only respond to testimony provided here tonight, not present new testimony. The other option would be if you would wanted to allow them to present additional testimony that's new, the public would have a right, those affected persons, to hear that. And probably what that would look like is the applicant presenting their information again, staff would have a chance to comment, the public would have a chance to comment, and then there'd be rebuttal. So in a way, a little bit of a do-over, but it might be limited in scope to just new information. What Rodney is suggesting here is also an option. You have the ability here to make a decision tonight. and let the applicant do with that decision as it will. It has options. We can request reconsideration if it's a denial, or if it's approved, the public also can weigh in on it. That's still an option for you at this juncture. So you do have a fork in the road.
And if, let's say council were to deliberate towards an action of approval with conditions, even the RS4 with tightening with the applicant at that point, they could either accept those terms or request even, maybe that would be more awkward, request reconsideration of an approval.
It's not without precedent that's happened, right?
Okay.
It could be, hypothetically, constraints can be too tight or whatever the case may be for that type of, reconsideration. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. It's clear as mud, or maybe some clarity, some nuance there. Okay. Mr. Hatch, I just want to respect, the owner, and it sounds like sickness. It sounds like you're the substitute presenter called into a challenging situation.
Mayor, I like to use the word cameo.
Cameo, okay. Well, Mr. Hatch, I appreciate those comments, but I think what I would do is it's council's decision at this point. So barring any final comments or questions for the presenter, I'd ask him to have a seat.
No, Mayor, I have a question.
Okay, Councilmember Rodriguez.
Let's see, Mr. Fisher wanted to know the width of the backyards that's going to affect or butt up against the neighbors to the west. Can you answer that question?
Repeating the information that Councilmember Griffin mentioned earlier, they're approximately 44 to 45 feet wide. And then of that, the setback, since these are deeper, narrower lots, could be something that's established above the standard setback and is pretty common for, commercial to residential. So having residential that has a higher density with a greater setback is certainly not unheard of.
Okay, but if these are apartment complexes, then you have more density for the backyard.
Can these be apartment complexes?
No.
Yeah, Councilmember,
This is a single family.
this is just single family.
Okay, well, some of the folks mentioned apartment complex, and I want to clarify, that's not what is here. Yeah,
Not at all.
I just want to say that, right. But as far as the backyard, their backyard butting up against this project is going to affect them one way or another. So I just wanted to make sure that they weren't right up against each other like we assumed that they would be, right?
Mayor Hogebone and Councilmember Rodriguez, no, these would have to abide by the underlining zones setbacks. And if this council deems it appropriate to enforce a greater setback on that westerly side as a concession to the neighbors, that's certainly reasonable.
Okay, and I'm glad you clarified that this is single homes, not apartment complex. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Mayor, if I could.
Yes.
Just to reconfirm kind of what I heard questioned, the setback is 15 foot on these, correct, from that back lot? So from us to the applicant. Mayor?
Yes.
If I could, if the comment would have been made at the very forefront that the applicant was sick or couldn't be heard today and we would have done a continuance, then I would have been more interested in continuing it. At this point, we've heard testimony, we've gotten a lot of feedback. It would be tough for me to go back through the entire hearing again. So
Do you have any questions for the applicant, though?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I do.
Okay.
To the extent that you know, and you can say no, and that's fine. I don't want you speaking unknowingly on behalf of the applicant. Is the applicant opposed to 8 units being a cap on this project?
Councilmember Griffin, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. And is the applicant opposed to keeping properties similar to the properties to the west, 1-story to 1-story, 2-story to 2-story, and so on? Do you know?
Councilmember Griffin, to the best of my knowledge, he intends to be complimentary to the area, so I think to some extent that was understood. So I think he would be amenable to that.
Thank you. Those are the only 2 that I had for now.
Any questions on this side? Okay. All right, Mr. Hatch, thank you for your closing comments. So, be seated.
Mayor, I'd move that we close public hearing.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Mayor,
public hearing is closed. All right, Councilman Bills.
I'd make a motion to deny the application.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. I need to ask for quick clarification. Just make sure. Are there, do we require some stated reasons in the
Mayor,
motion?
yes, it is
Okay.
extremely helpful, not for staff, but also just for the record building, articulate reasons why you're making that decision.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Mayor?
Don't intend any disrespect. I think the motion lacks some needed clarification in the second. So I would turn to them to maybe clarify the motion in the second for reasons for the denial.
Mayor, if I could,
Okay.
adding to likely, and he can agree or not on areas why it would be denied. This is part of deliberation,
I know, I'm asking for the reasons. So.
and I'm going to give reasons.
But she didn't make the motion.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I think Councilman Bills is going to hear what the seconder has to say and then.
It wasn't the second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, all right. So, we don't have very strict parliamentary rules. I do want to, I think, restrict comment from other council members at this time. So we have a motion, and a second, that I think needs clarification for us to have further deliberation because there's no stated reasons for the denial that need to be stated legally for findings of fact.
So Mayor, Attorney Preston, if I read what's on the screen, does that suffice? Or does there have to be explanation beyond what's on the screen?
Mayor, Councilman Bills, if you'll need explanation beyond that, a simple because statement, and then articulate your points of what was presented and what you believe was reasons for denial.
Another question, really quick, to help along this, is staff, I know there's suggestive language on approval. I don't see suggestive language on denial, and I know part of it might be just denial. Yeah.
If I could direct Councilman Bills to page number, if I can find it, 351. It lists the three facts, applicable regulations, D2, 3.C.1, 2, and 3. You could find potential reasons that they don't apply to the applicable findings by the staff.
Mayor, those are also on the screen on the
So
right-hand
you would
side.
state in inverted fashion that those conditions fail to be met. But again, so going back to the motioner in the second, would you like to clarify and amend the motion?
Well, we'll do so. So I move to not approve the project, as I don't believe it is in 102-3C1 harmonious with the plan and the neighborhood. I don't believe the proposed map amendment provides adequate parking, off-street parking, and I don't believe the lot sizing is workable with may meet the letter of the law as far as the zoning, but I don't believe it meets the intent of. So, Preston, you'll need to tell me if I'm off base or if you need something different.
Mayor, Councilman Bills, it's really your rationale and reason for this decision. What the record is looking for is just more substance to it, so that those affected parties can understand the reasoning behind it, so that it doesn't appear arbitrary.
The third item is I believe an RS4 under the current RS4 zone is a higher density than the original RS4. And therefore, I believe these lots should be 50 minimum wide And I think there should be at least 8 to 12 off-street parking spaces, as we've required that on other projects. That there be off-street parking and adequate room for residents and their guests to egress as well as ingress. So
I'd like to pause. Is all of this narrative included in the motion?
This is the record building piece? That's right. This is like the deliberation of.
I want to make sure we have a second, if we're good with those comments, and then we can deliberate.
I concur.
Okay, all right. So we're good. Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Jane-Gillette.
thank you.
Yes.
I semi-agree with Councilman Bills, but what we've heard from the citizens is that they're not anti this necessarily, or the growth, but they want compatibility. And also they know that this piece of property has been somewhat neglected, and so they would like to see it maintained. And so I would rather this come back either at a later time or a reconsideration for us, and have the lot lines align. So 1 through 6 butt up and be in alignment with 1 through 6 on this other side. And then either 7, 8, and 9, they can figure that and come back to bring it to us, or 7 and 8, however that needs to be configured. My question for Rodney, can we compromise green space for additional parking? I don't love the idea, I'm just thinking.
Legal, you allow staff to answer questions during deliberation on a public hearing?
We have in the past, what you want to try to guard against is new information coming in that the applicant wouldn't have an opportunity to respond to.
Okay, so I think Councilman Jangula has a very factual question on parking space and green space, if you understand.
And Mayor, this is Christie's project. I think she can help me out here, but I think the applicant indicated, or excuse me, the applicant's Cameo representative indicated that they had up to 2% more than was required by code for open space. If that's the case, then if that's correct, then they could reduce that open space down to the minimum standard for open space and provide additional parking.
Thank you, Rodney. So I would like to see those lot lines aligned so that the adjacent neighbors from behind will be in alignment, additional parking, and downsize, it would downsize by 3 units, potentially 4. That would be what I would hope to see.
Question, again, sorry, thanks for being patient with me. I'm just learning the rules real quick. I want to understand
We need to frame it, this is a condition, or comments and so forth is a condition to annexation.
So there's a motion to deny with stated reasons, and I'm hearing in deliberation, sounds like good faith attempts if these things were, but we're not really deliberating a motion to approve if these conditions are met. It's more like you're being asked a yes, no vote on the motion to deny.
Correct.
And I, to what extent can the record reflect deliberation from council members? I think it's maybe an olive branch if you come back and do X, Y, Z. I don't know if I'm reading too much into that, but that seems the spirit in which the comments are being offered. If this, but we're not really crafting conditions of approval. There's a motion to deny. And I'm just wondering, how much more do we need to offer up?
Mayor?
Yes.
So, and I'll come from left field on this point. I actually would be opposed to a motion of denial. And this is part of the deliberation of where I would get at. I would be more in favor of an approval with strict conditions, because likely the applicant will come back and be reheard on a different issue. If today we can tighten down, and this is where the ifs come in. I think it could be conducive to an RS4 if a few conditions applied. If not, I think it should be a denial, and the applicant should know to come back forward in the future with an RS6. But if I potentially were to make a substitute motion, my motion would limit, similar to what Councilwoman Jangula had stated, that the lot lines be similar to the property to the west, and that it would be capped at 8 units on the property. That That way, the applicant can either choose to take that or not, rather than going through another rehearing process on the denial to bring forward what ultimately they stated that they wanted, and I think that we all potentially could agree on. So without trying to be combative or disrespectful, I would be a no on the denial, simply because I think we can put enough guardrails on an approval to still meet the needs of the community as well as council.
Is that a counter motion?
I would only, if it would be respectful to Councilman Bills, to have a substitute motion.
Yeah, and just from a parliamentary school, kind of what I was saying, we have a motion, a second on the floor. We can see that to the end, which is to call for a vote. And then if that motion were to fail, then we need another motion, or the motioner in the second would have to retract their motion or amend it based on feedback. I do want to ask an important question of staff, because I'm hearing some contemplation of things from the council deliberation. If hypothetically council were to contemplate no more than 8 homes within the RS4, would 8 homes in the RS4 still be within the RS4 options without a subsequent need for a variance because of lot size?
Councilman Mayor Hogaboam.
Yep. I used to be a
Yes.
councilman, yes. Very
Yes, they still
Okay.
have, they're going to be dedicating some right-of-way, so they're going to lose a little bit of acreage with that.
Yes.
They are still going to need to have parking and open space and all of those things. So yes,
Yeah.
they would still meet the density
I
requirements.
just didn't know if
for the
we're
zone.
creating a subsequent issue of keeping it RS4 with all these other conditions to limit the zoning. So thank you for that clarification.
And that would go along my thought process, Mayor. We have a range of 4,000 to 8,000 square foot lots.
Yep.
I think we could fit 8 7,500 square foot lots, as well as meeting the green space and the turnaround. So that's why.
This is the will of council. I just want to make sure that the deliberations and the options that you all have before you are clearly understood. So, okay, we
Mayor?
have a motion, a second. Councilwoman.
Just
Scott.
as a newbie question, I'm kind of like you trying to figure it out, but you're smarter. So are we voting on the actual plating? I thought we were just voting on the zoning. Are we throwing in the, can we do that with that, or are we just doing the zoning?
And Mayor, Councilwoman Scott, I'll address that. We are just voting on the annexation and the zoning.
Okay.
And think of the annexation as step 1, if that is approved, and then there's a zoning that follows with it. If the annexation fails, you don't get the steps 2 about the zoning. So it is annexation, not any plats at this point. That would be at a later time.
So Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Bills.
if it's workable with Councilman Rodriguez, I think it'd probably be best that I withdraw and we go forward, instead of a deny, we go forward with an approval with a great deal of conditions applied to the annexation and to be a part of the annexation agreement.
Councilman Rodriguez, as you hear those comments, do you?
I do, I'm thinking about that. So the applicant said that he wanted some time to go back and figure this thing out themselves. Now we're putting direction to him, which is okay, he needs to hear that. But now we're applying our own direction for us and haven't given the applicant time to go over what he and the owner want to do. We're giving him parameters, so I'm concerned about that.
Well, what the applicant wants and the owner wants to do is what they've presented to us.
Yeah.
And so if we
and
don't
that-
want to annex the property, we either stay with our motion.
Right.
Or we annex with conditions, and they can then continue forward, or they can step away.
Kind of pushing them up against the wall here, so, I mean,
Yeah, I think Councilman Rodriguez, I think that that's your prerogative. If you want a motion to approve with all these conditions, the applicant might not like it, but I think that, they can request, reconsider. I know it's unique of an approval. I think, Christie, do you have? See you holding the mic.
A development agreement is a contract between the applicant and you. If you put those conditions on and they're too restrictive, the applicant then has the option of not signing it.
Correct.
Oh, I see.
And we drop the whole thing and we start over with a project that maybe would make it all the way through the process.
So it's basically a denial.
Yeah, you kind of set your terms, and if they don't agree to your terms, it's, then you start over. I think the other option is you deny, and the applicant may or may not ask for a reconsideration. It's really a question of, do you want to deny and have them come back, a fourth time, and see if there's changes, if they're digesting a lot of this deliberation, to try to see kind of what the will of council is. Or if you say, you know what, is this the third time? You say approval, but these are all the conditions, and they either agree to it or not. But Councilman Rodriguez, are you comfortable kind of retracting?
Okay,
retracting
so
the motion, or do
Councilman
you-
Bills, you're going to retract for approval, then, is that, because I hear what you're saying, I'm okay with that.
The motion
If that's
for
what that
denial.
is. I want to make sure what the.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Are
So
you-
if you're agreeable, then we go back to square zero, and then we look for another motion. Or you could say you don't want to subtract it now, just call for a vote, and the motion to deny either passes or fails.
I'll go with Councilman Bills, if that's what you want to do, I'll second, I'll go with that.
All right,
I'll
so-
retract my second.
Okay, we're back to step,
Mayor,
ground floor. All right, yes, Councilwoman Jangula.
I want to make a motion to approve the annexation and zoning to RS4 with the conditions that the lot sizes align to the adjacent properties and that it's limited to 8, that there is additional parking created on there as well.
You want to clarify additional parking?
Number of parking stalls?
I don't know, Christie, how many would,
One per lot. If you're saying 8 lots, then 8 additional parking spaces.
8 would 8 fit in that area?
And again, they probably have to redesign the roadways, because I believe they used to have some out on parallel parking out on the access drive, but, so I think there's room, but.
Mayor?
Yes.
Can I just suggest, maybe one thing could look at is the requirement for guest parking for townhouses. I know that they're based on the number of bedrooms for guest parking. I believe, actually, that is just the regular parking, and the guest parking is what, half of a stall per unit? So if you want to follow a standard we've established for housing, that might be the way you would do it. Is half a stall per unit, so you would get 4 additional stalls total, if you were to follow our current code for townhouses.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman,
Yes.
I would also like to see if you could tighten it in the area of the northeast corner. I think it'd be impossible to have alignment there unless we allowed them to have a single property cross over those 2 properties to the northeast, because it would work if we're going Lake Lowell north, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 properties similar that way, and then the 7th meeting at that property line all the way to the north would then cross 2 property lines. And then if we had the property to the very north, about a third of the way through and over to the east would be 1 property or a property in a common lot. I think it helps refine it down for them, as well as leaving out any ambiguity of what they might be approved for. Because if we say 8, they could say, well, then it's impossible for us to go here or here, because then it would be crossing over 2 property lines in the northeast.
So maybe we need to go back to the denial and let the applicant figure out what they should do.
That's what I said.
We're designing their project.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't
This
wanna
is an
design it.
annexation and a zoning, not a plat. So we've got to stick to certain little conditions if we're going to go that way. Otherwise, I'd like to go back to the denial and go from there, so.
I think Councilwoman Jane was working through, I think she stated the number of units in total that they would align with the lots. I think Councilwoman Griffin is noting that the kind of challenge there, and I do agree at that point, it's your discretion whether you want to be that clarifying in a development agreement to where then the plat would have to be consistent with those specific standards, which would go before P&Z, the plat, not come back before council, but it would still be consistent with that level of clarity, or it could just be 8 units and allow flexibility, or again, I think these would be whatever conditions you intend. It's your motion in a second, and council needs to deliberate, or you can just go to a denial. But I'm hearing that there's sort of a good faith attempt to kind of maybe state on the record, listen, these are our conditions, and it's sort of a.
Mayor, what I think would be difficult, because we've seen it play out already, is what if we get another hearing for an RS4, and I think that allowing a development agreement where not necessarily that we design, and maybe I can strike my points, I think the maximum you can get on here is 8, realistic is 7. So if we limit it to that number, then they're going to have to bring back, and I think that's part of a condition that we require, is that we bring back a plat map for final approval as part of the development agreement, requiring that plat map, that we get a look at that before final approval. That's something that we're allowed to do, correct?
So, Mayor, in the past, when you guys have asked for a new concept plan that kind of fulfills that, I have given you a memo at the time of the reading of the ordinance, and basically you all take a look at it at that time and make sure that it falls within the guidelines that or otherwise you don't approve the ordinance and the development agreement that's before you.
Mayor Hoagland, I don't feel comfortable designing a development from here. I'm still stuck on RS4. It should be RS6 like the other neighborhoods are. So I think the developer knows our direction. I think it's his right to be able to go back and fix this thing. So I don't know, that's where I stand.
All right, I'm gonna go back because we didn't get a second. I want to try to honor what was starting to be articulated, and then we kind of moved into deliberation. And I think that there are some extenuating circumstances on the nuances around this.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to Councilwoman Jane Gila and give her the floor to kind of state her preference on clarifying her motion or withdrawing the motion.
Yeah, I want to avoid another coming back, so I'm going to state in a motion to vote to approve the annexation and zoning to RS4 with the conditions of the 6 properties on the west side to align property lines with 4 additional parking spots, and then the northern 2 lots, the developer can figure that out however that makes sense for their property.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Do you have any off-street parking?
4 additional.
4?
That's the townhome.
Okay. So we have a motion. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Try to keep deliberation to the motion. The clerk can help. The motion was, I want to get this, 6 units that are consistent with the lot lines.
On the west side.
On the west side, flexibility on the 2 northern parts, or off-street parking spots.
Correct.
Okay.
Did the motion state a maximum of 8 units? I know the math adds up to that,
Yeah.
but can we state maximum 8 units on this
Oh,
project?
yeah.
I understood the motion to be
Thank you.
8.
Yep.
6 and then 2, so yes, okay. All right. Any deliberation on this motion? Council? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote then on the motion. So,
Gog,
Yes.
Bills,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
No.
Griffin,
Yes.
Pingula.
Yes.
4 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries.
all right. Hopefully it was very clear.
It's clear as mud.
It's no more than 8 units, 6 are consistent with the west boundaries. The 2, there's flexibility, and there would be a requirement for off-street parking spots. If they accept. Yes. Gotcha.
Yeah, if they don't
Do we need to
accept,
come back and see the new plan? Or is this now?
No, it was approved based on those conditions, whether the applicant meets those or not. Yeah, so.
The preliminary plat would be noticed and they would have an opportunity there.
That's right.
Opportunity for public testimony?
Yes, at planning and zoning, not
Planning
at
and
city
zoning.
council.
I just want to be clear, not here. The preliminary plat would go before planning and zoning.
The city would be involved in that? Us, the citizens would be involved in that?
yes.
Yeah, to the degree, yes. Okay, very good. All right, that concludes 8-3. Okay, wish you all a good evening, safe travels home.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So we got 9-1, 9-2.
I would, as they're actually in the room, I know we're nearing the end. I would like a quick 2-minute recess. I need to consult with legal on a matter.
Yep.
Okay, all right, we're gonna take a quick 2-minute recess.
Preston, I got it.
we will regather. Councilman Rodriguez is heading back, all right? Just that one's under suspension of rules. So how much do I need to
I'm so hot over here, I can't even tell you. I'm serious. Are you cold?
hold? I don't need to read it. Just the read.
I'm scared if I take off my jacket, I'll have pit stains.
Times are, you heard Doug, times are tough here, the furnace bill.
Council's here. Let's push through. Appreciate a little good-natured laughter. That's good. That's good. We got 2 more items before us. Appreciate the perseverance of this council as we kind of close out these 2 items. And I will, heads up, there is a placeholder for executive session. I will request that as well when we get to that point. But let's first deal with 9.1, unfinished business. Action item, this is to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution for a comprehensive plan amendment from medium-density residential to industrial for 8 parcels located at 1627, 1704, 1705, and 1811 East Florida Avenue, 0, 0, 1820, and 1722 East Iowa Avenue for the city of Nampa and David Snow, and this was approved by legal.
So moved, I think.
Yes? There's a motion?
Not under suspension of rules.
I was waiting for a suspension of rules.
No, not on this one. Second by Rodriguez, okay. Roll call on this. The clerk will take the vote.
Skog?
Yes.
Jengula?
Yes.
Bills? Rodriguez? Griffin?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay, 9.2 is an action item, and this is a first reading of ordinance for vacation of a portion of an 8-foot wide public utility easement along the rear property line of 2218 Jody Avenue in the RS6 Single Family Residential Zoning District for Wendy Mosher, and this was approved by city attorney, and this is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, vacating a portion of an 8-foot wide public utility easement located on the property generally described as 2218 Jody Avenue, Nampa, Idaho, 83651, parcel number R12985730000, consisting of approximately 19.7 square feet, more or less, located within Lot 20 of Block 10 of the New Karcher Estates Number 4 subdivision in the southwest 1/4 of Section 17, Township 3 North, Range 2 West, Boise Meridian, more particularly described below in Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, and directing the city engineer to alter the use and area map and other applicable maps accordingly, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Mayor,
Move under suspension of rules.
Okay,
Second.
motion, second, and this also is a roll call.
Skog?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
Rodriguez? Jingula?
yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
All right, council, I'm requesting that we convene into executive session under 2 provisions. Under D, this is to consider records that are exempt from disclosure as provided in Chapter 1, Title 74 of Idaho Code. In brief, this is to provide some information on a legal memo regarding operational policy within the city. And under F, which is to communicate with legal counsel for public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated. And this is also for legal to provide an update on pending legal matters before the city. So those could be combined into a single motion. I do need motion, a second, and I believe at least four yeses of council to convene under exec session under these 2 provisions. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Okay, there's a motion by Rodriguez. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a second by Jangula. Roll call.
Skog?
Yes.
Bills?
You're giving information only?
Correct.
No discussion?
There's no discussion needed. It's an update from legal and myself. we're just sharing an update with you.
Okay, I'll vote yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Pingula,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. All right. We are going to break into executive session, and the clerk will remind me, we need a motion to adjourn, right? When we
To
come back
move
up.
out and also to adjourn.
Okay. Okay, I will do my best to provide that information for you.
Okay. And I need the time.
Correct, that notebook is right.
I need the time.
Okay, all right. We are now in executive session.
Manual
Executive
for
session.